What if Anakin Skywalker mastered both sides of the Force? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Something impossible is happening to Anakin Skywalker. His left hand crackles with blue lightning. Sith power. His right hand glows with golden light. Jedi healing. Both at once. He should be corrupted right now. The dark side should be eating him alive. But it's not. The two energies spiral around each other, light and shadow, dancing together in perfect balance. He's found something that shouldn't exist. His eyes flash gold, then blue, then something in between. What is this? Every Jedi teaching says you can't touch darkness without falling. Every Sith believes the light makes you weak. But Anakin is holding both, channeling both, mastering both, and he feels stronger than ever. This one discovery will change everything. The Jedi Council will fear him. Palpatine will want to use him. The galaxy is about to learn that everything they know about the Force is incomplete. Because Anakin Skywalker just broke the oldest rule in existence. It started in a meditation chamber during the Clone Wars. Anakin was searching for peace like the Jedi taught him. But peace didn't come. Instead, he felt two pulls. One bright and warm, calling toward serenity. The other dark and cold, whispering promises of power. Most Jedi would run from that darkness. Anakin reached for both. He expected corruption, expected the dark side to flood through him like poison, expected to become everything the Jedi warned about. But that's not what happened. The two energies collided inside him, and instead of destroying each other, they balanced. Light and dark, swirling together like a storm that somehow held perfect equilibrium. His hands trembled as he stared at them. Raw power beyond anything he'd experienced, but also clarity. The dark side wasn't corrupting him. The light wasn't blinding him. They just existed together, two halves of something whole. It felt right in a way nothing ever had, as if he'd finally touched something the Jedi had been hiding all these years. He knows he should tell Obi-Wan. He knows he should bring this to the Council immediately. But something holds him back. Fear, maybe. Or perhaps an instinct that the Jedi would never understand this. They'd see it as corruption, as the first step toward falling. They'd expel him, or worse, try to suppress this gift before he can understand it. No, he decides. This is something he needs to explore on his own first. Only when he fully understands it will he reveal what he's discovered. He keeps it secret. Over the following weeks, Anakin experiments in private, testing the limits of what he's discovered. Late at night, alone in his quarters when Obi-Wan is away on missions, he practices channeling both sides simultaneously. He starts small, afraid of what might happen. He summons a tiny spark of Force lightning from his fingertips, the signature ability of the Sith. He braces himself for the corruption that should follow, for the darkness to seep into his mind and twist his thoughts. But it never comes. The lightning dances across his palm, and he feels only power. Clean, controlled power. Emboldened, he tries more. He practices Force healing with a passion that would horrify Jedi healers who insist on clinical detachment. He pours his love for his friends, his fierce protectiveness, into the healing energy. And it works even better than the traditional method. A cut on his hand that would take hours to heal vanishes in seconds. Every dark ability he attempts, he finds he can wield without falling. Every light technique he can enhance with emotion without losing control. It's as if the Force itself is responding to his willingness to embrace all of it, not just the parts the Jedi deem acceptable. He begins to understand something the Jedi don't teach. The dark side isn't inherently evil. It's passion, emotion, intensity. And the light side isn't inherently good. It's peace, serenity, detachment. Both have their place. Both are necessary. The Sith fall because they embrace only darkness and become consumed by it. The Jedi become weak because they embrace only light and cut themselves off from the full spectrum of the Force. But what if someone could hold both? What if someone could be passionate without being cruel, serene without being apathetic? His effectiveness in battle skyrockets. During a mission to Felucia, Anakin single-handedly turns the tide of a battle that should have been lost. The planet's fungal forests teem with separatist forces, their droids hidden among the massive mushroom stalks. The Republic forces are pinned down, taking heavy casualties. Obi-Wan calls for a strategic retreat, but Anakin refuses. He can feel something stirring within him, a potential he's never fully tapped before. He launches himself into the fray like a storm given form. His lightsaber becomes a blur of blue light, moving faster than the eye can follow. But it's not just his saber work. He lifts entire groups of droids with the Force and crushes them like tin cans, using raw power that should require hatred, but comes from pure will. Then immediately, with the same hands, he heals wounded clones with energy that flows from his fierce love for these men. He unleashes devastating waves of kinetic force, sending droids flying in all directions, then shields his troops with barriers of pure Force energy that absorb blaster fire. The clones watch in awe as he tears through droid ranks like they're nothing. He leaps 50 feet into the air and comes down on a spider droid, driving his lightsaber through its core. He deflects a barrage of blaster bolts back at their sources with such precision that each one finds a droid's optical sensor. When a wounded clone cries out, Anakin is there in an instant, one hand on the man's shattered leg. Golden light flows from his palm, and the bone knits itself back together in seconds. The clone stares at him with something approaching worship. The clones begin to cheer his name as the Separatists flee in terror. Victory is complete and decisive. But among the Jedi observers watching from the command post, there's only unease. Master Obi-Wan Kenobi stands with his arms crossed, his expression deeply troubled. Something is different about Anakin. He fights with a ferocity that borders on rage, yet maintains perfect control. He uses abilities no Jedi should possess, yet shows no signs of falling to the dark side. The Force around Anakin feels strange, wrong somehow, like he's breaking fundamental rules of reality itself. That night, Obi-Wan confronts him privately. They sit in Anakin's quarters, the silence stretching between them. Finally, Obi-Wan speaks. "Anakin, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. What's happening to you? The way you fought today, the abilities you used, I've never seen anything like it. And your presence in the Force, it's different. Darker, but not dark. I don't understand it." Anakin meets his former master's gaze steadily. He considers lying, but Obi-Wan deserves better than that. "I've discovered something," he says carefully. "A way to touch both sides of the Force without falling to either. I know how it sounds, but I'm not corrupted. I feel clearer than I ever have before." Obi-Wan's face pales. "Both sides? Anakin, that's impossible. The dark side corrupts. That's not opinion, it's fact. Every Jedi who's tried to walk that path has fallen." "Not every Jedi," Anakin counters. "Maybe the ones who fell weren't strong enough. Or maybe they didn't understand what they were doing. I'm not dabbling in darkness, Obi-Wan. I'm achieving balance. Real balance, not the Jedi's version, where we just avoid half the Force and pretend it doesn't exist." Obi-Wan shakes his head slowly. "I want to believe you, but this is exactly what the Sith would say. They always think they're in control right up until they're not." Anakin feels frustration rising, but forces it down. Watch me then. Test me. I'll prove that I haven't fallen. Obi-Wan is silent for a long moment, then nods reluctantly. I will watch. And I pray to the Force that you're right, because if you're wrong, if you're falling and can't see it, then I don't know if anyone can save you. The conversation ends there, but the unease remains. Word spreads through the Jedi ranks about Anakin's strange abilities. Some dismiss it as rumors. Others begin to watch him more closely. And in the highest levels of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, the Council takes notice. Back at the Jedi Temple, the Council convenes an emergency session. All 12 seats are filled, the Masters sitting in their circle as the holographic displays show footage of Anakin's battle on Felucia. They watch in silence as he tears through droids, heals the wounded, and moves with a power that seems almost supernatural, even by Jedi standards. When the footage ends, the chamber remains quiet for a long moment. Yoda closes his eyes and reaches out through the Force, searching across the light years that separate him from Anakin. When he touches upon the young knight's presence, his ears flatten back in shock. His walking stick trembles in his grip. Impossible, this is, he murmurs. Sense both light and dark in him, I do. In perfect balance they are. Yet fallen, he has not. Wrong, this feels, yet also right. Understand it, I do not. Master Windu leans forward, his jaw tight with tension. That shouldn't be possible. The dark side corrupts. It always has. It's not a matter of willpower or control. The darkness eats away at you from the inside until there's nothing left. Either Skywalker has fallen and is hiding it somehow, or something far stranger is happening. Something that challenges everything we understand about the Force. Master Plo Koon speaks up, his voice thoughtful behind his breathing mask. Perhaps we should consider that our understanding is incomplete. The Jedi have existed for thousands of generations, yes, but the Force is older than that. Older than the Republic. Older than recorded history. Is it so impossible that there are aspects of it we've never encountered? The ancient Jedi, before they split into Jedi and Sith, they claimed to walk a path of balance. We've always dismissed those texts as legend, but what if there was truth to them? That's dangerous thinking, Master Ki-Adi-Mundi interjects sharply. Those ancient texts led to the schism that created the Sith. They led to the 100-year darkness and countless deaths. We reject that path for good reason. The dark side is corruption. It is death. To touch it is to fall. That is millennia of Jedi wisdom, not mere opinion. But wisdom can become dogma, Master Shakti argues. And dogma can blind us to truth. I don't claim to understand what Skywalker has achieved, but we cannot dismiss it simply because it contradicts our teachings. We must investigate, learn, understand. Refusing to acknowledge something simply because it frightens us is the path of ignorance, not wisdom. The debate continues for hours, voices rising and falling. Some council members call for Anakin's immediate expulsion. Others argue for patience and study. A few, like Plo Koon and Shakti, seem genuinely curious about what this means for the Force itself. Through it all, Yoda remains silent, his ancient eyes distant as he contemplates something far beyond the chamber. Finally, he raises his walking stick and taps it once on the floor. The sound echoes through the chamber, and all voices fall silent. Summon Skywalker. We must, Yoda declares. Question him, test him. We shall. Only then decide what to do. We can. But remember, young he still is. Hasty judgment we must avoid. Destroyed him, the Council already has, with their doubt. Careful, we must be, not to push him away completely. The message is sent. Anakin is recalled from the front lines, and ordered to return to Coruscant immediately. As his ship travels through hyperspace, Anakin meditates on what's coming. He knows the Council suspects him. He knows they fear what he's become. Part of him wants to hide it, to suppress his abilities and pretend to be a normal Jedi. But he can't. Not anymore. He's touched something real, something true, and he won't deny it just to make them comfortable. He arrives at the temple 3 days later. The atmosphere is tense as he walks through the halls. Other Jedi avoid his gaze. Padawans whisper and fall silent when he passes. Even the clone troopers stationed at the temple seem uneasy around him, as if they can sense that something about him has changed. Obi-Wan meets him at the entrance to the council chamber, his face grave. "They're waiting for you," Obi-Wan says quietly. "Anakin, please, be careful what you say in there. Some of them want you expelled. Others want you studied like a specimen. You need to convince them that you haven't fallen, that this power of yours isn't a threat. Can you do that?" Anakin nods slowly. "I'll do my best, but I won't lie about what I've discovered. If they can't accept the truth, then maybe I don't belong here anymore." Obi-Wan grabs his arm. "Don't say that. The Jedi Order is your home. We're your family. Don't throw that away out of pride." Anakin pulls his arm free gently. "It's not pride, Master. It's principle. The Jedi taught me to seek truth. Now I've found it, and they want me to deny it. There's something wrong with that picture." He enters the council chamber alone. The 12 masters sit in their circle, their faces grave. Anakin walks to the center and stands there, meeting their gazes one by one. He feels their fear, their suspicion, their curiosity. The Force swirls around the chamber, tense and crackling with unspoken emotion. Master Windu speaks first, his voice hard as Durasteel. "Knight Skywalker, we sense a great disturbance in you. You walk a dangerous path. Your presence in the Force has changed. Where once there was light, now there is shadow. Where once there was clarity, now there is chaos. Explain yourself. What have you done?" Anakin takes a deep breath and lets it out slowly. "I've discovered something the Jedi don't teach. A way to touch both sides of the Force without falling to either. I know it sounds impossible. I know it contradicts everything you believe. But it's true. I can channel the dark side without being corrupted. I can use the light side with passion instead of detachment. I've found balance. Real balance." The council erupts in protests. Several masters stand, their voices rising in anger and alarm. Master Ki-Adi-Mundi's voice cuts through the chaos. "The dark side is corruption. It is death. To touch it is to fall. That is not opinion, young Skywalker. That is millennia of Jedi wisdom. You claim to have found something new, but all you found is the same path every fallen Jedi has walked. You're being seduced and you don't even realize it." Anakin shakes his head firmly. "Then your wisdom is incomplete. I haven't fallen. I feel clearer, stronger, more centered than I ever have before. The dark side doesn't corrupt me because I don't let it consume me. I touch it, use it, and then let it go. The same with the light side. I don't cling to detachment. I embrace emotion, then release it. Both sides flow through me in balance. The only danger I feel is from those too afraid to question their dogma." "Show us." Yoda's voice cuts through the argument. His ancient eyes fix on Anakin with an intensity that makes even the young knight pause. "Demonstrate what you claim to have achieved. Words are wind. Truth you must show us." Anakin nods slowly and steps into the exact center of the chamber. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath, centering himself. Then he raises his left hand, and summons the Force. The air around his palm begins to crackle and spark. Blue-white lightning dances across his fingers, growing in intensity until the entire chamber is lit by its glow. It's a power that should only come from hate, from rage, from the deepest wells of darkness. The council members tense, hands moving toward their lightsabers. Several start to stand, ready to strike him down before he can attack. But then Anakin raises his right hand, and everything changes. Golden light emanates from his palm, warm and pure. The unmistakable glow of Force healing, the highest expression of the light side. He holds both powers simultaneously, lightning crackling from his left hand, healing light glowing from his right. The two energies swirl around him, mixing but never destroying each other. They spiral up toward the chamber's ceiling in a double helix of light and darkness. The silence that follows is absolute. Every master stares in shock, unable to process what they're seeing. This shouldn't be possible. The laws of the Force, as they understand them, simply don't allow for this. It would be like watching someone breathe water and air at the same time, or exist in two places simultaneously. It breaks fundamental rules. Anakin holds the pose for a long moment, letting them see, letting them understand. Then slowly, carefully, he lowers his hands and releases both powers. The lightning fades, the light dims. He opens his eyes and meets their stunned gazes calmly. "This is what I've become," he says quietly. "Not fallen, not pure. Something in between. Something that shouldn't exist according to your teachings, but does anyway. You can call me corrupted if you want. You can expel me. But you can't deny what you just saw." Master Windu finds his voice first, though it's strained. "This is impossible. The dark side should be consuming you right now. Every moment you channel it should be poisoning your soul. How are you resisting it?" Anakin shakes his head. "I'm not resisting it. That's the point. The Jedi teach that you must resist the dark side, fight it off, keep it at arm's length. But that just gives it power over you. I don't fight it. I accept it as part of the Force, use it when needed, and then let it flow away. It has no hold over me, because I don't fear it." Master Shak Ti leans forward, her expression fascinated. "And the light side? How do you reconcile passion with serenity? How do you use emotion without losing yourself to it?" Anakin smiles slightly. "The same way. I don't try to suppress my emotions like the Jedi teach. I feel them, acknowledge them, and then channel them. Love makes my healing stronger. Protectiveness makes my barriers more solid. Even anger, when controlled, can fuel strength without turning into hatred. It's all about balance. Not rejecting half the Force, but understanding all of it." Master Plo Koon speaks up thoughtfully. "You speak of balance, but the prophecy says the Chosen One will bring balance to the Force by destroying the Sith. How does your path align with that?" Anakin's expression darkens. Maybe the prophecy doesn't mean what everyone thinks it means. The Jedi interpret balance as destroying the dark side. But that's not balance. That's domination. Real balance would be light and dark, existing in harmony. Maybe destroying the Sith doesn't mean eliminating darkness. Maybe it means ending their corruption of the dark side, showing that it can exist without evil. The debate continues for hours. Yoda asks penetrating questions about Anakin's training methods. Master Windu challenges every assertion, looking for cracks in the logic. Obi-Wan, granted special permission to observe, advocates passionately for his former Padawan. The other masters argue among themselves, their voices rising and falling as they try to process the impossible thing they've witnessed. Finally, As the sun begins to set over Coruscant, Yoda calls for silence once more. Decided. The council has, he announces. Expelled, you will not be. Studied like a specimen, you will not be. But proven yourself, you have not. A test we shall give you, a mission to prove that your balance is real, not delusion. Succeed, and speak of this matter again. We shall. Fail, and your path ends here. Anakin straightens. What's the mission? Master Windu takes over, his voice grave. On Dathomir, a dark side artifact corrupts the land. 3 Jedi teams have been sent to retrieve or destroy it. All 3 failed. Master Luminara Unduli and her Padawan were the first. They returned traumatized, speaking of visions that drove them to the edge of madness. Master Quinlan Vos went next. He fell to the dark side and barely escaped with his life. We had to hunt him down and bring him back for reconditioning. Finally, Master Kakrok led a team of 4 knights. Only he survived. The others were consumed by the artifact's power and had to be put down. The artifact is ancient, older than the Republic itself. It radiates darkness so intense that it poisons the land for miles around. Creatures exposed to it become twisted abominations. People go mad. The planet itself is dying. We cannot allow it to continue, but we've run out of Jedi willing to face it. You claim your balance makes you immune to corruption. Prove it. Go to Dathomir, face the artifact, and destroy it without falling. Do this, and we'll acknowledge that your path has merit. And if I fail? Anakin asks quietly. Then you will be expelled from the Order and forbidden from teaching others your methods, Master Windu replies bluntly. We cannot risk you spreading this practice if it leads to the dark side. Too many have fallen already. We won't allow another. Anakin nods slowly. He feels the weight of what they're asking. This isn't just a test of his abilities. It's a test of everything he believes, everything he's discovered. If he fails, if the artifact corrupts him, it will prove the Council right. It will mean his balance was an illusion, and he was falling all along. But if he succeeds, he'll prove that the Jedi's 1,000-year-old doctrine is incomplete. That there's another way. I accept, he says firmly. I'll leave immediately. But I want it on record that I'm doing this to help the people of Dathomir, not just to satisfy your doubts. If this artifact is killing innocent people, it needs to be destroyed regardless of what it proves about my abilities. Master Yoda nods approvingly. Spoken like a true Jedi, those words are. Go then, young Skywalker. May the Force be with you in all its forms. Anakin leaves the council chamber and begins preparing for the mission. Obi-Wan helps him gather supplies, his face troubled. I don't like this, Anakin. Dathomir is dangerous even without a dark side artifact. The Night Sisters there are powerful Force witches. They won't take kindly to a Jedi entering their territory. You'll be facing threats from all sides. I'll be fine, Anakin assures him, but Obi-Wan grabs his shoulder, forcing him to meet his eyes. Will you? Anakin, I've seen what happens to Jedi who face artifacts like this. Quinlan Vos was one of the strongest among us, and it broke him. Luminara is a council-level master, and she barely escaped with her sanity. What makes you think you can succeed where they failed? Because I'm not fighting it like they did, Anakin explains. They tried to resist the darkness, to push it away. That just made it stronger. I'm going to embrace it, accept it, and then let it flow through me without taking root. The artifact can't corrupt me if I don't give it purchase. Obi-Wan looks unconvinced, but finally lets go. I hope you're right, because if you're wrong, I don't know if I can save you. Anakin takes his personal ship and sets course for Dathomir. The journey through hyperspace gives him time to meditate, to prepare himself for what's coming. He reaches out through the Force, trying to sense the artifact from across the galaxy. Even at this distance, he can feel it. A cold, hungry presence that radiates malevolence. It wants to be found. It wants to corrupt. It's been sitting on Dathomir for centuries, poisoning the land and waiting for someone powerful enough to claim it. He emerges from hyperspace above Dathomir and immediately feels the wrongness of the place. The planet looks normal from orbit, all red mists and rocky terrain, but the Force here is twisted, corrupt. He can feel the artifact's influence spreading through the planet like roots of poison. Animals touched by it have become aggressive and mutated. Plants have grown thorns and developed carnivorous traits. Even the air feels thick with malice. He lands near the coordinates the Council provided. The site is in the heart of Night Sister territory, which explains why the Jedi teams had so much trouble. The Night Sisters don't trust outsiders, especially not Jedi. But Anakin hopes his unique connection to the Force might intrigue them enough to let him pass. He's not purely light side after all. Maybe they'll see him as something different. The landscape is hostile from the moment he steps out of his ship. The ground is cracked and oozing with something that might be blood. Twisted trees claw at the sky, their branches moving with a life of their own. The mists are thick and red, obscuring vision beyond a few meters. Anakin ignites his lightsaber, using its blue glow to light his way as he moves toward the artifact's location. He's barely traveled 100 meters when the attacks begin. Battle droids emerge from the mist, their weapons firing. But these aren't normal droids. They've been corrupted by the artifact's influence, their movements jerky and unpredictable. Red energy crackles across their chassis. When they fire, their blaster bolts leave trails of darkness that seem to eat at reality itself. Anakin moves into a defensive stance and begins deflecting the shots. But each one that hits his lightsaber sends a jolt of wrongness through him. He pushes forward, cutting through the droids with efficient strikes. But more keep coming. Dozens of them, then hundreds. Where did they all come from? He realizes the Separatists must have tried to claim the artifact for themselves and failed. These droids are the remnants, driven mad by proximity to the dark side, and now acting on instinct alone. They don't coordinate, they don't think, they just attack anything that moves. Anakin channels the dark side, letting anger fuel his strength. He sweeps his lightsaber in wide arcs, each swing cutting through multiple droids at once. He lifts his hand and unleashes Force lightning, the blue-white energy arcing between targets and frying their circuits. But even as he uses these dark powers, he keeps part of his mind centered in the light. He doesn't let the rage consume him. He uses it as a tool, nothing more. A massive super battle droid crashes through the mist, its weapons spinning up. Anakin reaches out with the Force and crushes its torso like a tin can. The droid crumples and falls, sparking. 3 more take its place. He dispatches them with brutal efficiency, his lightsaber moving so fast it becomes a blur. The dark side whispers to him, urging him to go further, to unleash his full power and annihilate everything in his path. But he resists, not because he fears the darkness, but because it's unnecessary. These are just machines. They don't deserve his rage. Past the droid army, he encounters something worse. Dark side cultists emerge from hidden caves, their bodies twisted by corruption. They were once human, but the artifact's influence has changed them. Their skin is mottled with black veins. Their eyes glow red. They move with inhuman speed and strength, wielding crude weapons infused with dark side energy. When they speak, their voices are layered with something that isn't quite human. The artifact calls us. One of them hisses. It shows us truth, power, freedom from the Jedi's lies. Join us, Skywalker. We know who you are. We can feel your potential. Stop fighting what you're meant to become. Anakin ignites his lightsaber and shakes his head. I'm not interested in your false promises. The artifact isn't offering freedom. It's offering slavery to darkness. There's a difference. The cultists attack as one, moving with coordinated precision that suggests some kind of hive mind. Anakin meets their charge head-on, his lightsaber flashing in the dim light. But he doesn't just cut them down. As he fights, he uses the light side simultaneously. Golden energy flows from his free hand, touching each cultist as he passes. The cleansing energy burns away the corruption, restoring their minds and freeing them from the artifact's control. It's exhausting work. Each cultist requires a sustained burst of light side healing to cleanse fully. And while he's healing one, the others are attacking. He has to split his concentration between offense and mercy, between destroying the corrupted and saving those who can still be saved. Sweat pours down his face as he works, his breathing becoming labored. But he doesn't stop. These people deserve a chance. They didn't choose corruption. It was forced upon them. One by one, the cultists collapse, gasping as clarity returns to their eyes. Thank you, they whisper, their voices weak. Thank you. We couldn't stop ourselves. It made us do terrible things. Anakin helps them to their feet and points back toward his ship. Get out of here. Get as far from this place as you can. I'm going to destroy the artifact and end this. They nod weakly and stumble away into the mist. But more cultists appear. So many more. The artifact has been corrupting people for centuries, and they all come now, drawn to the presence of a powerful Force user. Anakin realizes he could fight them all day and never reach the artifact. He needs a different approach. He closes his eyes and reaches deep into the Force, channeling both light and dark simultaneously. He creates a wave of pure Force energy that radiates outward in all directions. The wave washes over the cultists like a tide. Those too far gone disintegrate instantly, their corrupted forms unable to withstand the cleansing power. Those who can still be saved find themselves lifted off their feet and carried away from the artifact's influence, deposited gently at the edge of the corruption zone. It's a technique that requires immense power and control, and Anakin can feel it draining him. But it works. The path ahead is clear. He presses onward, finally reaching the ruins at the heart of the corruption zone. The structure is ancient, predating even the Sith Empire. Its walls are covered in writing that makes his eyes hurt to look at. The architecture is wrong somehow. Angles that shouldn't be possible. Spaces that seem to fold in on themselves. At the center of the main chamber, he finds it. A twisted black crystal, roughly the size of his head, pulsing with malevolent red light. Just being near it makes his skin crawl. The artifact radiates hatred and hunger. It's been waiting here for centuries, poisoning this world and calling out to Force users across the galaxy. Anakin can feel it trying to worm its way into his mind, looking for cracks, for weaknesses, for any foothold it can use to corrupt him. It shows him visions. Padme dying in childbirth while he's helpless to save her. Obi-Wan betraying him to the Council. The Jedi Order falling into decay and taking the Republic with it. All the things he fears most, thrown at him with brutal intensity. But Anakin has touched the dark side before. He knows its tricks. Instead of resisting the visions, he accepts them. Yes, he might lose Padme. Yes, Obi-Wan might turn on him one day. Yes, the Jedi and Republic might fall. These are all possibilities, but they're not certainties, and fear of them won't save him. He lets the visions flow through him without taking root, acknowledging the fears but not surrendering to them. The artifact intensifies its assault. It shows him power, what he could achieve if he just embraced the darkness fully. He could reshape the galaxy, end the war in days, force the Separatists to surrender through sheer might, become the most powerful being alive. All he has to do is give in, just a little bit, just enough to claim the artifact's power for himself. And again, Anakin doesn't fight it. He considers the offer seriously. Yes, unlimited power would be useful. He could do a lot of good with that kind of strength. But at what cost? The artifact doesn't offer power freely. It offers addiction. It would make him dependent on darkness, unable to function without it. He'd become its slave, not its master. That's not balance. That's just another form of corruption. He extends both hands toward the crystal and begins channeling the Force. Light from his right hand, dark from his left. The two energies spiral together, intertwining as they approach the artifact. The crystal shrieks, a sound beyond hearing that seems to vibrate through his bones. It tries to consume the dark side energy, to feed on it and grow stronger. But the light side energy burns it simultaneously, creating a feedback loop. The artifact can't handle the contradiction. It's designed to corrupt dark side users and drive away light side users. But Anakin is both and neither. He feeds it darkness and light simultaneously, forcing it to consume opposing energies. The crystal begins to crack, hairline fractures spreading across its surface. Red light leaks out, growing brighter and more intense. The entire chamber shakes as the artifact realizes it's dying. It makes one final attempt to corrupt him. It throws every ounce of darkness it possesses at Anakin, trying to overwhelm his defenses through sheer force. For a moment, the attack almost succeeds. Anakin feels the corruption flooding into him, seeping into his cells, trying to change him at a fundamental level. Gold flickers in his eyes. His breathing becomes harsh. The dark whispers grow deafening. But then he reaches for the light side and channels it through himself with equal intensity. The two forces collide within him, and instead of destroying him, they stabilize. The darkness has nowhere to root because the light is there, burning it away. The light has nothing to blind because the darkness tempers it. They exist in perfect opposition, creating equilibrium. And in that equilibrium, Anakin finds the strength to push back. He pours more energy into the artifact, feeding it with both sides of the Force until it can't contain anymore. The crystal explodes with a thunderous boom that levels the ruins. Fragments of black crystal rain down, but they're inert now, powerless. The corruption vanishes instantly. The oppressive weight that had been pressing down on the planet lifts. The mists begin to clear. The twisted trees start to straighten. And across Dathomir, animals and people touched by the artifact's influence feel their minds clearing for the first time in years. Anakin stands in the center of the destruction, breathing hard but unbroken. His robes are torn and scorched. Blood runs from a dozen small cuts, but he's still himself, still balanced. The artifact tried its best to corrupt him and failed. He looks down at his hands, which still crackle with residual Force energy, and allows himself a small smile. The Council wanted proof. Well, they've got it now. As he walks back to his ship, something unexpected happens. Night Sisters emerge from the shadows, their faces painted with ritual markings. They don't attack. Instead, they watch him with curiosity and respect. One of them, clearly a leader, approaches slowly. Her voice is rough, but not hostile. You destroyed the artifact. 3 Jedi teams tried and failed, but you succeeded. How? Anakin considers his answer carefully. Because I didn't try to fight it with just light or overpower it with just darkness. I used both. Balance. The Night Sister's eyes narrow thoughtfully. We use dark magic, things the Jedi fear and condemn. But you don't smell of pure light like other Jedi. There's shadow in you. Controlled shadow. Perhaps you understand what the others did not. Perhaps, Anakin agrees, the Force isn't meant to be divided. That's the mistake both Jedi and Sith make. They pick sides and weaken themselves. True power comes from embracing all of it. The Night Sister smiles, revealing filed teeth. You speak wisdom, Jedi. Or whatever you are. You're welcome in our lands. We owe you a debt. The poison is lifted. Our people can heal now. Anakin nods and continues to his ship. As he flies away from Dathomir, he feels satisfied, but also exhausted. The mission pushed him to his limits in ways combat never could. Resisting the artifact's corruption while simultaneously wielding dark side power required a level of control he barely maintained. But he did maintain it. He didn't fall, and that means everything. He returns to Coruscant 3 days later. The Council is waiting for him in their chamber, their faces unreadable. Master Windu speaks first. We felt the artifact's destruction through the Force. The corruption on Dathomir is gone. Reports from the Night Sisters confirm that you succeeded where 3 Jedi teams failed. You've proven that your balance, whatever it is, has some merit. Does this mean you'll stop treating me like a threat? Anakin asks bluntly. The Council members exchange glances. Finally, Yoda speaks. Accept your path, we do not. Understand it, we do not. But deny its effectiveness, we cannot. Dangerous you are, but also necessary. In these dark times, need every advantage we do. Permission to continue, you have. But teach others, you will not. This path is yours alone. Why can't I teach others? Anakin demands. If it works, if it makes me stronger and doesn't corrupt me, why not share it? Master Ki-Adi-Mundi shakes his head firmly. Because you are 1 in a billion, Skywalker. Your control, your discipline, your natural strength in the Force. It's exceptional. Most Jedi who try to walk your path would fall. We can't risk creating a generation of fallen Jedi just to test your theory. It's not a theory, Anakin argues. It's proven fact. But I understand your concerns. I won't actively recruit or teach others without your permission. But if someone else discovers this balance on their own, I won't turn them away either. The Council grudgingly accepts this compromise. The meeting ends with an uneasy truce. They won't expel him or actively oppose him, but they won't embrace his methods either. Master Shaak Ti approaches him as he leaves the chamber. She speaks quietly so the others won't hear. I want you to know that not all of us fear what you've become. Some of us are curious, intrigued even. The Force has always been more complex than our teachings suggest. Perhaps you've simply discovered what we've been too afraid to explore. Anakin looks at her with surprise. He hadn't expected support from a Council member. Thank you, Master. That means more than you know. She nods and continues. Be careful, Anakin. The Council's fear isn't entirely unfounded. The dark side is seductive in ways you might not fully understand yet. You've resisted corruption so far, but there may come a day when you're tested beyond your limits. When that day comes, remember who you are. Remember why you walk this path. Don't let power become your master. Anakin takes her words to heart. Over the following weeks, he returns to the front lines of the Clone Wars. The conflict has intensified in his absence. with separatist forces pushing deeper into Republic space. But something feels different now. Anakin can sense undercurrents in the Force, patterns that suggest someone is manipulating events from the shadows. He begins to pay closer attention to the war's progression, looking for signs of the hidden Sith Lord the Council believes is orchestrating everything. During a battle on Christophsis, Anakin saves a clone battalion from being overwhelmed by droid forces. He uses his unique abilities to devastating effect, channeling lightning to disable entire formations, while simultaneously healing wounded troopers. The clones begin to see him as something more than just another Jedi. They see him as someone who genuinely cares about their survival, who will use any power necessary to bring them home alive. After the battle, one of the clones approaches him hesitantly. "General Skywalker, sir. The men wanted me to thank you for what you did out there. Most Jedi, they're good commanders, but they treat us like assets. You treat us like people." Anakin places a hand on the clone's shoulder. "You are people. Don't let anyone tell you different. You're not just numbers. You're brothers, soldiers, individuals. And I'll do everything in my power to make sure as many of you as possible make it home." The clone trooper's eyes water behind his helmet. "Thank you, sir. That means everything to us." The conversation spreads through the clone networks. Stories about Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi who uses forbidden powers to save his men, who treats clones as equals, who will break any rule to protect those under his command. The clones begin to love him in a way they love few other Jedi. But this growing reputation also draws attention from those who fear him. Several Jedi Masters express concern that Anakin is becoming too close to the clones, that he's allowing attachment to cloud his judgment. Some suggest he should be reassigned to solo missions, where his controversial methods won't influence other Jedi. But Obi-Wan defends him fiercely, pointing out that Anakin's unconventional approach has saved countless lives. The tension within the Order continues to build. Anakin can feel it every time he returns to the temple. The younger Jedi look at him with fascination, wondering what it would be like to touch the full spectrum of the Force. The older masters look at him with suspicion and fear, seeing a ticking time bomb that could explode at any moment. Only a few, like Yoda and Plo Koon, seem genuinely curious about what his path might teach them. As Anakin leaves the council chamber, he nearly collides with someone in the hallway. He looks up to see a hooded figure, and his blood runs cold. Chancellor Palpatine stands there with his grandfatherly smile. But something is different now. With his heightened sensitivity to both sides of the Force, Anakin can feel what he couldn't before. Darkness radiates from Palpatine like heat from a furnace. Not just darkness. Ancient, powerful darkness. Sith darkness. How had he never noticed before? The answer comes to him immediately. He'd been blind to it because he only used the light side. The Chancellor's darkness was hidden behind layers of Force concealment that only the light could see. But now that Anakin touches the dark side himself, he can sense it clearly. Palpatine is a Sith Lord. Perhaps the Sith Lord, the one the Council has been hunting for years. "Ah, young Skywalker," the Chancellor says warmly, seemingly oblivious to Anakin's realization. "I heard you had quite the meeting with the Council. I hope they weren't too harsh on you." Anakin forces himself to return the smile, even as his mind races. "No, Chancellor, just a new assignment. Nothing I couldn't handle." Palpatine's eyes glitter with something Anakin can't quite identify. Amusement, interest, danger. Excellent, excellent. You know, my boy, the Jedi fear what they don't understand. They cling to dogma because it's comfortable, because questioning it would mean admitting their fallibility. But you have the courage to seek truth beyond their narrow teachings. You've found a way to touch the full power of the Force. I've always admired that about you, your willingness to question, to grow, to become something greater. Every word sends chills down Anakin's spine. Palpatine knows. He can sense that Anakin has discovered balance, and rather than fearing it, the Chancellor seems pleased. That's wrong. A normal politician, even one who supported the Jedi, wouldn't understand enough about the Force to be pleased. Only someone deeply knowledgeable about Force powers would react this way. Only a Sith. "Thank you, Chancellor," Anakin says carefully, trying to extract himself from the conversation. "I should probably get back to the front lines. The war won't wait." Palpatine nods graciously and steps aside. Of course. Duty calls. But Anakin, remember that my door is always open if you need guidance. The Jedi Council may not understand you, but I do. I've always understood you." Anakin hurries away, feeling Palpatine's gaze boring into his back. As soon as he's alone, he leans against a wall and tries to process what just happened. The Chancellor of the Republic is a Sith Lord. He's been hiding in plain sight, manipulating events, probably orchestrating the entire war. And somehow, he knows about Anakin's new abilities. Worse, he approves of them. That can't be good. He needs to tell someone. The Council needs to know. But who would believe him? He just finished a confrontation where half the Council wanted him expelled. If he comes back now claiming the Chancellor is a Sith, they'll think he's fallen. They'll think the dark side is making him paranoid, turning him against the Republic's leader. He needs proof, hard evidence, something undeniable. Over the following weeks, Anakin throws himself into investigating Palpatine while maintaining his duties as a Jedi. He uses his new abilities to probe the Force for information, touching the darkness that surrounds the Chancellor and trying to trace its origins. He begins to see patterns he missed before. Every major decision that extended the war, every strategic blunder that cost Republic lives, every political move that concentrated more power in Palpatine's hands, they all bear the fingerprints of careful manipulation. But finding proof is harder than sensing truth. Palpatine has covered his tracks expertly. Anakin needs something concrete, and he needs it soon. Because while he's investigating, the war continues to escalate. The Separatists launch more aggressive attacks. Casualties mount on both sides. And through it all, Palpatine consolidates power, slowly transforming the Republic into something darker. Then comes the attack on Coruscant, the battle that will change everything. Anakin is training with his clone squadron when the alarms blare throughout the temple. Separatist forces are dropping out of hyperspace above the capital, dozens of warships supported by thousands of droid fighters. The Republic Defense Fleet scrambles to respond, but they're outnumbered and caught off guard. This isn't a raid. This is a full-scale invasion. Anakin races to his starfighter alongside other Jedi pilots, his astromech droid already loaded and ready. The hangar bay doors open, and they launch into chaos. The sky above Coruscant is filled with streaking lasers and exploding ships. Capital ships trade devastating broadsides, while starfighters swarm between them like angry insects. Anakin weaves through the chaos with practiced skill, his connection to both sides of the Force allowing him to predict enemy movements before they happen. He targets a wing of vulture droids, his lasers stitching through them with precision. One explodes, then another. But there are so many of them. For every one he destroys, 3 more seem to appear. And in the distance, he can see something that makes his blood run cold. A massive flagship with Count Dooku standing on its bridge, clearly visible through the viewports. This is no random attack. Dooku has come for the Jedi, and he's brought an army. But as Anakin fights, he senses something else. A darker presence pulling strings behind the scenes. Through his connection to both sides of the Force, he feels Palpatine's influence radiating like a dark sun, hidden in plain sight. The Chancellor isn't just reacting to this battle. He's orchestrating it. He planned this attack, used his influence to ensure the Republic Defense Fleet would be in the wrong position, set everything up so the Jedi Temple would be vulnerable. And in that moment, Anakin understands. Palpatine is making his move. Whatever his endgame is, it's happening now. The attack isn't meant to destroy Coruscant. It's meant to destroy the Jedi. He has to warn them, has to make the Council understand. But first, he has to survive. A TIE locks onto his tail, its weapons blazing. Anakin pulls into a tight spin that would black out most pilots, but he reinforces his body with the Force. Dark side power keeping him conscious. He comes out of the spin behind the TIE and obliterates it with a sustained burst of laser fire. 2 more fighters attack from his flanks. He channels the Force through his ship's weapons, his blaster bolts actually curving through space to track their targets. Both fighters explode. Through his comlink, he hears clone pilots calling for help. A civilian transport is caught in the crossfire, its engines damaged. It's drifting toward a massive dreadnought that will tear it apart with point defense cannons. Anakin changes course immediately, racing toward the transport at full speed. He arrives just as the dreadnought opens fire, its turbolasers tracking the helpless ship. Anakin doesn't think. He reaches out through the Force and creates a barrier around the transport. A shell of pure Force energy that absorbs the incoming fire. It's a technique that should be impossible. The amount of power required to stop capital ship weapons is astronomical. But Anakin channels both light and dark, drawing on reserves of strength he didn't know he had. The barrier holds just long enough for Republic gunships to arrive and tow the transport to safety. But the effort leaves Anakin drained. He's pushed himself too far. His vision blurs. His hands shake on the controls. A dozen droid fighters sense his weakness and swarm him. He tries to evade, but his reactions are slow. A laser clips his wing, then another. His fighter starts spinning out of control, alarms blaring. He's going to crash. At the last second, another Jedi starfighter appears, its pilot cutting through the droid fighters with expert precision. The voice that comes through Anakin's comlink is familiar and welcome. "I've got your back, Sky Guy." Just like old times, it's Ahsoka. His former Padawan has returned. She left the Jedi Order months ago, disillusioned after they falsely accused her of treason. But she's back now, fighting for the Republic, even if not for the Order. Ahsoka guides Anakin's damaged fighter toward the temple landing platform. They crash land with a shriek of tortured metal, but they're alive. As Anakin climbs out of his cockpit, he sees Ahsoka removing her helmet, her montrals marked with new patterns. She's grown since he last saw her, more confident, more self-assured. "You came back," he says, unable to hide the emotion in his voice. "The Jedi might not be my family anymore," she replies, "but you are. And I could sense through the Force that something terrible is happening. You're going to need all the help you can get." She's right, because at that moment, the temple itself comes under direct assault. Dooku's flagship launches a strike team of elite battle droids and dark side assassins. They descend on the temple grounds, targeting the sacred halls with explosives and blaster fire. Clone troopers stationed at the temple engage them, but they're badly outnumbered. Anakin and Ahsoka race into the temple. Other Jedi are already fighting, their lightsabers flashing in the corridors. But something is wrong. The clones aren't just fighting alongside the Jedi. Some of them are fighting against the Jedi. Anakin sees a clone trooper gunning down a Padawan in cold blood. Another is shooting at Master Shak Tai, forcing her to deflect blaster bolts while simultaneously fighting droids. "What's happening?" Ahsoka shouts over the chaos. "Why are the clones attacking us?" Anakin reaches out through the Force, probing the minds of the traitorous clones. What he finds chills him to the bone. They're not traitors. They're being controlled. Some kind of hidden programming buried deep in their minds, triggered by a specific signal. A signal that could only come from one source. Palpatine. It's Order 66, Anakin realizes with horror. The secret contingency plan the Chancellor has for eliminating the Jedi. He's activated it. The clones can't help themselves. They're slaves to their programming. We have to stop them without killing them. These men don't deserve to die for following orders they can't resist. But that's easier said than done. Clone troopers flood into the temple from every entrance, their weapons raised, their faces expressionless behind their helmets. They gun down Jedi with mechanical efficiency, showing no hesitation or mercy. Younglings flee screaming as their protectors fall around them. Masters who survived 100 battles are cut down by the soldiers they trusted. Anakin moves through the chaos like a force of nature. He disarms clones with force pulls, shattering their weapons without harming the men. He creates barriers to shield other Jedi from blaster fire. When a group of clones corners a group of younglings, Anakin arrives and uses the Force to put them all to sleep simultaneously. They collapse in heaps, unconscious but alive. The younglings flee to safety, while Anakin moves on to the next crisis. Ahsoka fights beside him, her white lightsabers a blur. She's adopted new fighting styles since leaving the Order, less rigid and more adaptive. She saves Master Plo Koon from a squad of clones, then helps Master Ki-Adi-Mundi evacuate injured Padawans. The two of them become a fighting unit, covering each other's backs, moving with perfect synchronization, born from years of training together. But even as they fight, Anakin realizes they're losing. There are too many clones and not enough Jedi. The temple is massive, with hundreds of chambers and corridors. They can't be everywhere at once. Jedi are falling faster than he can save them. He needs to do something dramatic, something that will turn the tide. He needs to stop the Source. He finds Obi-Wan Kenobi in the archives, defending a group of younglings from clone assassins. His former master is bleeding from several wounds, his breathing labored. "Anakin!" "Thank the Force. The clones have gone mad. They're killing everyone. We need to evacuate immediately." Anakin helps him fight off the assassins, then grabs his shoulders. It's not madness, it's programming. Palpatine activated a hidden contingency order. The clones are executing Order 66, the elimination of all Jedi. Obi-Wan's face drains of color. The Chancellor? But that would mean... Yes, Anakin confirms grimly. He's the Sith Lord we've been searching for. He's been playing both sides of the war from the beginning, and now he's making his final move. Before Obi-Wan can respond, another voice echoes through the temple. It's being broadcast over every speaker, amplified by the Force to reach every ear. The voice is calm, measured, and utterly cold. Anakin recognizes it immediately. Palpatine. Or should he say, Darth Sidious. "Attention, all Jedi. Your order has attempted to overthrow the Republic. You have been deemed traitors and enemies of the state. Your execution has been authorized. Resistance is futile. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Resist and you will suffer." The recording repeats, playing over and over. Anakin can hear screams echoing from distant corridors as more Jedi fall. "We have to get to him," Anakin says urgently. "If we take down Palpatine, the clones might stand down." But Obi-Wan shakes his head. We need to evacuate first, get the younglings to safety, then we can deal with the Chancellor. Anakin wants to argue, but he knows Obi-Wan is right. The younglings come first. They split up, Obi-Wan taking half the younglings toward the hangar, Anakin taking the other half toward a secondary escape route. But as Anakin guides his group through the temple, he encounters something unexpected. A familiar presence moving through the corridors with deadly purpose. He rounds a corner and comes face to face with Count Dooku, the elegant Sith Lord standing amidst a pile of fallen Jedi. Dooku's red lightsaber is dripping with blood, his face expressionless. "Skywalker," the Count says calmly, "we meet again. I must say, I'm impressed you've survived this long. The Chancellor's plan was quite thorough. Most of your brothers and sisters are dead already." Anakin ignites his blue lightsaber and steps in front of the younglings protectively. "The Chancellor's plan ends tonight. And so do you, Dooku." The Count smiles thinly. Such confidence, such righteous anger. "Tell me, young Skywalker, has the Council told you about your remarkable new abilities? Have they embraced the balance you found? Or have they treated you as a threat, just barely tolerating your presence?" Anakin doesn't respond, but his silence is answer enough. Dooku's smile widens. "I thought as much. The Jedi fear you, Anakin. They always have. You're too powerful, too passionate, too willing to question their doctrine. Even now, as the Order burns around you, they see you as the greater threat. But my master sees something different. He sees potential. Join us. Help us remake the galaxy into something better than this corrupt republic. You could save everyone you care about if you just embraced your full power." Anakin shakes his head. "I've heard this speech before. From Sith, from dark-side cultists, from the artifact on Dathomir. You all say the same thing. Power, freedom, the chance to remake the galaxy. But it's always a lie. The dark side doesn't offer freedom. It offers slavery. I've touched darkness and mastered it. I don't need your corruption." Dooku's expression hardens. "Then you'll die with the rest of them." He lunges forward, his lightsaber flashing in a precise thrust, aimed at Anakin's heart. Anakin parries, and the two of them explode into motion. Their duel tears through the corridor, lightsabers clashing with thunderous impacts. Dooku fights with form to perfection, each strike economical and deadly. But Anakin fights with something new, a hybrid style that mixes Jedi forms with Sith aggression and incorporates techniques from both sides of the Force. He channels dark side power to fuel his strength, making each blow powerful enough to drive Dooku back. But he uses light side precognition to predict the Count's counters with perfect clarity. It's overwhelming. Dooku is a master duelist, but he's never faced an opponent who can attack like a Sith while defending like a Jedi. The Count's perfect form begins to falter as he struggles to adapt. "You're stronger than before," Dooku admits, his blade moving faster. "But strength alone won't save you." He unleashes a torrent of Force lightning. Anakin catches it with one hand, channeling the dark side to absorb the attack. Then he fires it back from his other hand, adding his own power to the mix. Dooku barely deflects the enhanced lightning, and for the first time, genuine concern flashes across his face. Behind them, the younglings watch with wide eyes. They're seeing something that shouldn't exist. A Jedi using Sith powers without falling. It contradicts everything they've been taught. But right now, they don't care about doctrine. They just care that someone is protecting them. The duel intensifies. Dooku realizes he's losing and becomes more aggressive, abandoning his usual elegant style for raw power. He throws waves of Force energy at Anakin, trying to overpower him. Anakin matches him, blow for blow, darkness meeting darkness. The corridor explodes around them. Walls crack, the floor buckles. Lighting fixtures explode in showers of sparks. Then Anakin does something unexpected. In the middle of the fight, he switches entirely to the light side. He stops attacking and focuses purely on defense. His lightsaber moving in perfect Sorisu forms, absorbing and redirecting Dooku's attacks. The sudden change throws the Count off balance. He's attacking with dark side fury. And suddenly there's nothing to push against. It's like trying to hit smoke. Dooku overextends on a particularly vicious slash. Anakin sidesteps it smoothly and counters with a strike to the Count's shoulder. The blow lands. Dooku staggers back, blood flowing from the wound. He tries to recover, but Anakin is already moving. He channels both light and dark simultaneously, creating a spiraling attack that comes from two directions at once. Dooku can't defend against both. Anakin's lightsaber slashes across his chest, and he collapses. The Count lies on the floor, breathing weakly, blood pooling beneath him. Anakin deactivates his lightsaber and looks down at him without pity. "It's over, Dooku. Tell me where Palpatine is. Tell me how to stop this." The Count laughs wetly. "You think killing me changes anything? This has been in motion for years. My master has won. The Jedi are finished. The Republic will fall, and from its ashes, the Empire will rise." "Not if I stop him first," Anakin replies. He reaches out through the Force and touches Dooku's mind, sifting through his memories. The Count tries to resist, but he's too weak. Anakin sees everything. Palpatine's plans, his true identity as Darth Sidious, the years of careful manipulation, the clone army's hidden programming, all of it laid bare. And then he sees something else, something that makes his blood run cold. Palpatine has been watching him, studying him. The Chancellor knew about Anakin's balance from the beginning. He's been waiting to see how it develops. And now that the Jedi are being wiped out, Palpatine intends to offer Anakin a choice. Join him and rule the galaxy together, or die with the rest of the Order. Anakin breaks the connection and looks down at Dooku with new understanding. "You were always expendable, weren't you? A tool to be discarded when no longer useful. Palpatine doesn't care about you. He only cares about power." Dooku's eyes widen with something that might be realization. Then he dies, his last breath escaping in a wheeze. Anakin turns to the younglings. "Come on, we need to keep moving." They follow him without question, trusting him completely. As they navigate through the burning temple, Anakin uses the Force to sense where other Jedi are. He guides survivors toward evacuation points, coordinates resistance efforts, and systematically shuts down clone squads by putting them to sleep with the Force. But even as he works, he knows it's not enough. The temple is falling. Too many Jedi are dead. The Order is broken. And at the center of it all, Palpatine sits in his office, pulling strings and watching his plan unfold. Anakin needs to end this. He needs to stop the source of the chaos, even if it means walking into a trap. He finds Yoda and Mace Windu in the council chamber, surrounded by fallen clones. The two masters are wounded but still standing. Yoda's ears are flat against his head, his eyes sad. "Failed, we have. Blind to the darkness we were. Now pay the price, the Order does." "It's not over yet," Anakin says firmly. "Palpatine is the Sith Lord. He's behind all of this. If we take him down, we can end it." Master Windu shakes his head grimly. "We know. We felt his presence revealed when he activated Order 66. The dark side signature was unmistakable. But confronting him now is suicide. He's been planning this for years. He'll be prepared for us." Then we don't have a choice, Anakin argues. We let him win, or we fight. I'd rather die fighting than run away. Yoda nods slowly. Right, you are. Confront him, we must. But careful, we must be. The most powerful Sith in 1,000 years, Palpatine is. Face him alone, none of us can. At that moment, Obi-Wan arrives with more survivors, including Ahsoka, Plo Koon, and Ki-Adi-Mundi. The evacuation is complete. All surviving Jedi and younglings have been loaded onto transports and sent away. Now comes the hard part. Stopping Palpatine before he can hunt down every last survivor. The group makes their way through the burning city toward the Senate building. Behind them, the temple burns, smoke rising into the night sky. Around them, clone troopers patrol the streets, executing any Jedi they find. The few Jedi who remain move like ghosts, using the Force to conceal their presence as they infiltrate the heart of the Republic. They reach the Senate and fight their way through Palpatine's guards. The Chancellor has surrounded himself with elite Red Guards, warriors trained to fight Force users. But against multiple Jedi Masters working in concert, the guards fall quickly. The group ascends to Palpatine's office, their lightsabers ignited, their faces grim. They find him standing at the window, looking out over the burning city. His back is to them, but his voice carries clearly. "Ah, my guests arrive at last. I must confess, Anakin, you've surprised me. I spent years carefully grooming you to be my apprentice, orchestrating events to push you toward the dark side. The loss of your mother, your secret marriage, your growing disillusionment with the Council. All part of my design. But then you discovered this peculiar balance, quite inconvenient." He turns, and the mask of kindly Chancellor falls away completely. His eyes burn yellow with Sith fury. His smile is cruel and predatory. Dark side energy radiates from him in waves so intense that the office shakes. "I am Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith, and you, all of you, are about to learn why the Sith always survive." He raises his hands and unleashes a storm of lightning unlike anything they've ever felt. The raw power of it shakes the building to its foundations. Master Windu throws up a force barrier, but the lightning cracks through it like glass. Master Plo Koon adds his strength to the defense, and together, they barely manage to hold it back. But Sidious just laughs and increases the power further. Anakin steps forward and channels both sides of the Force simultaneously. He creates a vortex of light and dark energy that catches Sidious's lightning and redirects it. The Sith Lord's eyes widen in genuine surprise as his own power is thrown back at him. He dissipates it at the last second, but for the first time, he looks concerned. "Impressive, boy. You truly have found something new. But raw power means nothing without the wisdom to use it. Let me show you what a true master can do." His red lightsaber flies to his hand from across the room, and then he moves. The duel that follows is beyond anything the galaxy has ever seen. Sidious moves with inhuman speed, his form a blur of red light. He attacks all of them simultaneously, his lightsaber appearing in 5 places at once, through sheer speed. Master Windu and Obi-Wan engage him from the flanks, their blades flashing in coordinated strikes. Yoda joins the fight from low, his small form darting in to attack Sidious's legs. Ahsoka and Plo Koon provide ranged support, using Force pushes to keep him off balance. But even against 5 powerful Force users, Sidious holds his own. He fights with the accumulated knowledge of 1,000 years of Sith teachings, every move perfect, every strike calculated to kill. His lightsaber technique is flawless, combining elements from all 7 forms into something transcendent. And between strikes, He unleashes devastating force attacks that send Jedi flying or force them into purely defensive positions. Anakin enters the fray and everything changes. He doesn't fight like a Jedi, all restraint and defense. He doesn't fight like a Sith, all rage and aggression. He fights like something in between, adaptive and unpredictable. He matches Sidious blow for blow, his lightsaber moving in patterns that shouldn't exist. When Sidious unleashes lightning, Anakin absorbs it and fires it back, enhanced. When Sidious tries to crush him with the dark side, Anakin uses the light side to shield himself and counters with dark side attacks of his own. For the first time in decades, Sidious finds himself challenged. Not just fought against, but truly challenged by an opponent who can match his versatility. The office explodes around them. Furniture disintegrates under force blasts. Windows shatter outward, glass raining down on the city below. The very structure of the building groans under the forces being unleashed. Sidious laughs, a terrible sound filled with genuine enjoyment. Yes, this is what I've been searching for. Not a servant, not an apprentice, but a true challenge. You found the balance I thought impossible, young Skywalker. Show me its limits. Show me what you can really do. They trade attacks so fast they blur together. Anakin channels massive amounts of both light and dark, his body actually glowing with the combined energies. Sidious counters with ancient Sith techniques that haven't been seen in millennia, calling upon reservoirs of dark power that have been building for decades. The two of them clash in the center of the office, their lightsabers locked, force energies spiraling around them like twin cyclones. But Sidious isn't alone in this fight. As the battle rages, reinforcements arrive. Red Guards burst through the doors, followed by dark side acolytes that Sidious has been training in secret. These aren't random thugs. They're skilled Force users who have spent years preparing for this moment. They fall upon the Jedi Masters with coordinated precision, forcing Obi-Wan and the others to split their attention. Master Windu engages two Red Guards simultaneously, his purple blade flashing as he holds them back. Obi-Wan faces three dark acolytes, their crude lightsabers crackling with dark energy. Plo Koon creates barriers to protect Ahsoka as she battles another wave of enemies. Yoda leaps between targets, his small form moving with impossible speed. But they're being overwhelmed. Sidious planned for this. He knew they would come, and he prepared a trap within a trap. Anakin senses the shift in battle and realizes they're running out of time. Sidious is testing him, studying him, learning his techniques, while simultaneously wearing down the other Jedi. If this continues much longer, they'll all die here. He needs to do something dramatic, something that will end this fight decisively. But what? Then he remembers the artifact on Dathomir, how he destroyed it by feeding it contradictory energies until it couldn't contain them anymore. Sidious is like that artifact, a being built entirely on dark side power. What if Anakin could force him to consume light and dark simultaneously, not as an attack from outside, but from within? It's insane. It's dangerous. It might kill Anakin in the process, but it's the only way he can think of to end this. He reaches out to the other Jedi through the Force, his mental voice cutting through the chaos. I need all of you to channel your power into me. Everything you have. Trust me. I know what I'm doing. The Jedi hesitate for only a moment. What Anakin is asking is unprecedented. Channeling that much combined Force energy could destroy him, but they're out of options. One by one, they reach out, connecting their presences to Anakin's. Light side energy floods into him from 5 of the most powerful Jedi alive, a river of pure, radiant power that threatens to burn him away from the inside. But Anakin doesn't just accept it. He weaves it together with his own darkness, creating a lattice of light and shadow inside his body. The energies spiral together, building to impossible levels. His bones feel like they're on fire. His blood boils. His mind screams at him to release it before it tears him apart. But he holds on, compressing it further, making it denser, more potent. Sidious feels it happening, and his expression changes from amusement to alarm. "What are you doing? Stop! That much power will destroy you. You can't possibly control it." His attacks become more desperate, more vicious. He knows Anakin is building up to something catastrophic, and he's trying to disrupt it before it's ready. But the other Jedi protect Anakin. Master Windu kills one Red Guard and wounds another, creating space. Obi-Wan cuts down two acolytes and pushes the third back. Yoda unleashes a wave of Force energy that staggers Sidious for a crucial second. Ahsoka and Plo Koon create a barrier around Anakin, shielding him from the Sith Lord's attacks. Anakin's body begins to glow, light and shadow, flickering across his skin like St. Elmo's fire. The air around him crackles with barely contained energy. His eyes blaze with power, shifting between blue and gold and something in between. He can feel reality bending around him, the Force itself straining under the weight of what he's attempting. "You're wrong, Sidious," Anakin says, his voice echoing with unnatural resonance. "The Jedi fear the dark side because they think it corrupts. The Sith disdain the light side because they think it weakens. But I've learned something they both forgot. The Force isn't light or dark. It's both. It's all. It's everything. And I'm about to show you what that really means." He unleashes everything at once. A wave of pure Force energy explodes from his body, so bright that everyone in the room has to shield their eyes. It embodies both creation and destruction, healing and harm, light and dark in perfect equilibrium. The attack doesn't just use the Force, it is the Force in its truest, most fundamental form. Undivided, unfiltered, whole. Sidious throws up every defense he has, layering shields upon shields, drawing on every ounce of dark side power he possesses. Ancient Sith techniques that can stop armies, barriers that have withstood orbital bombardments. But the attack is too much. It tears through his defenses like paper, burning through millennia of accumulated power in seconds. The Sith Lord screams as the energy engulfs him, burning away his darkness, while simultaneously crushing him with power, born from that same darkness. It's a contradiction he can't defend against, because it operates on a level of the Force he's never mastered. For all his power, for all his knowledge, Sidious only ever understood half the equation. And now that incompleteness is destroying him. But Sidious isn't defeated yet. In his desperation, he calls upon forbidden techniques, Sith alchemy rituals that consume life force itself. The remaining acolytes and Red Guards suddenly collapse, their life energy ripped from their bodies and channeled into Sidious. He's killing his own followers to fuel one last attack, one final desperate gambit to survive. The power boost is enormous. Sidious rises back to his feet, his body wreathed in crimson lightning. His eyes are purely yellow now, no trace of humanity remaining. His voice becomes layered, as if a dozen beings are speaking through him at once. "You think you can defeat a Sith Lord with 1,000 years of knowledge? I have drunk from the wellspring of the dark side itself. I have touched powers you cannot imagine. If I must burn this entire planet to ash to destroy you, I will." He unleashes a second storm of lightning, more powerful than before, channeling the stolen life force of his followers. The attack is massive enough to level a city block. But Anakin is ready. He's still connected to the other Jedi, still channeling their combined power. He creates a shield of pure balance, light and dark, woven so tightly together that they become indistinguishable. The lightning strikes the shield, and something incredible happens. Instead of being blocked or absorbed, it's transformed. The dark side energy passes through the shield and emerges as light side energy. The stolen life force is purified and returned to the Force, allowing the fallen acolytes to pass peacefully. Sidious's most powerful attack is not just stopped, it's redeemed. The Sith Lord staggers back, his power finally exhausted. The office is destroyed, walls cracked, ceiling collapsed, fires burning everywhere. But the Jedi still stand, battered, wounded, pushed to their absolute limits, but alive. And Sidious, for the first time in his long life, feels something he hasn't felt in decades. Fear. Impossible, he rasps, blood dripping from his mouth. No one should be able to wield that much power. You've broken the fundamental rules of the Force itself. You've done what neither Jedi nor Sith could achieve. How? How is this possible? Anakin deactivates his lightsaber and walks forward, his body still crackling with residual Force energy. The only rule I broke was yours. The lie that the Force must be divided, that we must choose between light and dark. You spent your entire life pursuing power through darkness, manipulating others, destroying anyone who threatened you. But you never understood that true power comes from balance, from accepting all of it, not just the parts that serve your ambition. Sidious tries to speak again, tries to summon one more attack, but his body fails him. He collapses forward onto his knees. The dark side that sustained him for so long is gone, burned away by Anakin's attack. What remains is just an old man, broken and defeated. Mace Windu steps forward and places Force-suppressing binders on him. The Sith Lord will stand trial for his crimes against the galaxy, if he survives that long. As the adrenaline fades, Anakin realizes what he's done. The amount of power he just channeled should have killed him. It should have torn him apart at a molecular level. But his balance held. Light and dark together kept him stable when either alone would have destroyed him. He looks down at his hands, which are still glowing faintly with residual Force energy. The skin is unmarked, unburned. He's still himself, still balanced. Master Yoda hobbles forward, leaning heavily on his walking stick. His eyes are sad but accepting. See now, I do, that wrong we were. About you, about the Force, about everything. A new understanding you have shown us. Whether wise or foolish, time will tell. But deny its power, we cannot. The immediate battle is over. But as they look out over the burning city, they realize the work is just beginning. Coruscant is in chaos. The temple has fallen. Thousands of clones are still operating under Order 66's programming. And across the galaxy, Jedi are being hunted down and killed. They've defeated Sidious, but his conspiracy has roots everywhere. We need to move quickly, Master Windu says, his voice strained from exhaustion. The clones won't stop killing Jedi just because we captured the Chancellor. We need to broadcast what happened here, show the galaxy that Sidious was a traitor, and we need to find a way to deprogram every clone simultaneously. Padme can help with that, Anakin says. She has contacts in the Senate who weren't corrupted by Sidious. If we can get to her, we can start coordinating a response. Obi-Wan nods wearily. Then let's not waste time. Every second we delay, more Jedi die. They make their way out of the destroyed Senate building, carrying Sidious's unconscious form. Outside, the battle is still raging. Clone troopers are fighting separatist droids while also hunting any Jedi they encounter. It's complete chaos with no clear lines of battle. Anakin reaches out through the Force, trying to sense where Padme is. He finds her in her apartment, barricaded with Bail Organa and Mon Mothma. They're safe for now, but surrounded by clone patrols. The group fights their way through the city. It's exhausting work. They're all wounded, all pushed to their limits, but they don't stop. They can't. Too many lives depend on them. Ahsoka saves them twice, her combat experience outside the Order giving her insights into tactics the traditional Jedi miss. Obi-Wan's leadership keeps them coordinated. Yoda's wisdom guides their path, and Anakin's unique abilities allow him to sense threats before they arrive. They reach Padme's apartment just as a battalion of clones is preparing to breach the door. Anakin doesn't hesitate. He reaches out with the Force and puts every single trooper to sleep simultaneously. They collapse in their armor, unconscious but unharmed. Inside, Padme runs to him, relief and fear warring on her face. "You're alive. Thank the Force you're alive. I felt so much death through our bond. I thought I'd lost you." Anakin holds her tightly. "I'm here. We won. Sidious is defeated, but we need your help to fix this. The clones are programmed to kill Jedi. We need to broadcast the truth and find a way to shut down that programming before more people die." Padme pulls back, her senator composure returning. "I can do that. Bail and Mon have been gathering evidence about Sidious's conspiracy. We have proof of his manipulation, and I know someone who might be able to help with the clones." Over the next several hours, they work frantically. Padme contacts sympathetic senators and begins broadcasting the truth about Sidious across every available channel. Bail Organa coordinates with Republic military officers who weren't corrupted, organizing a response to protect remaining Jedi. Mon Mothma reaches out to the Separatist Parliament, revealing that their leadership was being manipulated and offering peace talks. Meanwhile, Anakin works with a team of medical specialists to study the inhibitor chips in the clones' brains. It's delicate work, requiring both technological expertise and Force precision. But eventually, they crack it. They develop a signal that can deactivate the chips without harming the clones. It takes time to set up the broadcast, but when it finally goes out, the effect is immediate. Across Coruscant and on 1,000 worlds, clone troopers suddenly stop mid-attack. The programming releases its grip, free will returns, and with it comes the horrifying realization of what they've done. Many clones break down completely, unable to process the fact that they murdered the Jedi they served beside. Others go into shock. A few attempt suicide before they can be stopped. Anakin spends days working with the clones, using Force healing to help them process the trauma. It's heartbreaking work. These men didn't choose to betray the Jedi. They were slaves to their programming, but they still carry the guilt of what their hands did. He helps where he can, but some wounds go too deep for even the Force to heal completely. The days following Sidious's defeat are a whirlwind. The Separatist leadership surrenders once they learn their entire movement was manufactured. Peace talks begin immediately, with Mon Mothma and Padme leading the negotiations. It's complicated work, addressing legitimate grievances that existed before Sidious exploited them. But slowly, carefully, the galaxy begins to heal. Sidious himself stands trial before the Senate. The evidence against him is overwhelming. Communications with Count Dooku, financial records showing he funded both sides of the war, testimony from Separatist leaders who were manipulated, and most damning, the testimony of the Jedi who fought him. He's found guilty of treason, mass murder, and crimes against sentient life. The sentence is life imprisonment in a Force-suppressing cell deep in the Republic's most secure facility. But even as one crisis ends, others emerge. The Jedi Order must reckon with how they were so thoroughly deceived, how a Sith Lord operated under their noses for years, how their attachment to the Republic blinded them to the truth. The Council meets to discuss the future, and for the first time in centuries, they admit they were wrong. Master Windu speaks first, his voice heavy with grief. We failed. The Order failed. We were so certain in our righteousness that we became blind. We believed our doctrine was infallible and our judgment absolute. But Sidious hid from us for decades. We went to war without question, becoming the Republic's weapons rather than its conscience. We rejected those who thought differently, like Skywalker and Tano. We must acknowledge our mistakes if we're to rebuild. Yoda nods slowly. Agree, I do. Too rigid, we became. Too certain. Question ourselves, we stopped. The old ways served us for 1,000 years, but perhaps serve us no longer. Learn from Skywalker's example. We must. Not his path, necessarily, but his willingness to question, to adapt, to find new answers to old problems. But we can't simply throw out all our teachings, Master Plo Koon argues reasonably. The dangers of the dark side are real. For every Anakin Skywalker who finds balance, there might be 100 who fall. We must be careful not to replace old dogma with new recklessness. Balance is important, yes, but so is caution, so is wisdom. The debate continues for hours, days, weeks. Eventually, they reach a consensus. The Jedi Order will reform itself. They'll maintain their core principles: peace, justice, protection of the innocent. But with more flexibility, they'll allow attachments, acknowledging that love can be a source of strength rather than just weakness. They'll teach emotion regulation instead of emotion suppression. They'll question their alliance with the Republic and insist on remaining truly independent guardians. And most significantly, they'll acknowledge that Anakin's path, while not for everyone, has merit. They won't expel him or force him to conform. Instead, they'll grant him permission to establish his own tradition, separate from but allied with the Jedi. A place where Force users who don't fit the traditional Jedi mold can study and grow without fear of rejection. Anakin accepts this arrangement with mixed feelings. Part of him wants to stay with the Order, to help them rebuild from within. But he knows he doesn't fit their structure. He never has. The idea of creating something new, something more flexible, appeals to the part of him that's always questioned authority. He'll build a tradition that embraces what he's learned, that accepts balance as a valid path. He establishes his new order on a moon of Mandalore, in the territory controlled by Duchess Satine. The location is strategic, far enough from Coruscant to maintain independence, but close enough to coordinate with the Jedi when needed. The Mandalorians, with their own complicated relationship with Force users, welcome him. They see his willingness to use any tool necessary as similar to their own warrior culture. Anakin calls his new organization the Grey Knights, not Jedi, who cling only to light, not Sith, who drown in darkness, but something in between, something balanced. The name spreads quickly across the galaxy, drawing attention from Force users who never felt comfortable with the Jedi's restrictions. Ahsoka is his first true student in this new path. She's already walked away from the Jedi once, already found her own way. Teaching her balance is natural, building on foundations they established during her Padawan years. Under his guidance, she learns to touch the dark side without fear, to use passion as fuel without being consumed by it. She becomes one of the most effective Force users in the galaxy, feared by criminals and dark side cultists, respected even by traditional Jedi. But Ahsoka isn't the only one who comes. Other former Jedi contact Anakin, those who left the Order for various reasons, but still want to serve the Force. There's Quinlan Vos, who fell to the dark side once and struggles with the traditional Jedi path. There's Barriss Offee, whose anger at the Jedi's wartime compromises led her to terrorism, but who genuinely wants to atone. There's even some current Jedi who request transfers, particularly younger knights uncomfortable with the Order's restrictions. The Council grants these requests with surprising grace. They understand that the Order can't be everything to everyone. Better to have multiple paths all serving the same goal than one path that pushes people toward darkness or drives them away entirely. The Grey Knights become an alternative, not a rival. A sister organization that works alongside the Jedi while maintaining distinct philosophy and methods. Training at the Grey Knight Academy is different from traditional Jedi training. Anakin teaches his students to acknowledge their emotions, to understand them, to use them without being controlled by them. He shows them how to touch the dark side safely, how to draw on its power for moments when pure light isn't enough, then let it flow away before it can take root. He emphasizes balance, self-awareness, and constant vigilance against corruption. The curriculum includes extended meditation sessions where students practice holding light and dark simultaneously, combat training that incorporates both Jedi and Sith techniques, philosophical discussions about the nature of the Force and the limitations of dogma, field missions where students face real threats and learn to adapt their approach based on circumstances rather than rigid rules. It's not easy. Some students can't handle the balance and must be sent back to the traditional Jedi for their own safety. Others fall to the dark side despite Anakin's teachings and have to be stopped before they hurt anyone. The path he's created is narrow and dangerous, requiring levels of self-awareness and discipline that not everyone possesses. But those who succeed become something unique. One of his early successes is a young woman named Kira, a former Padawan who left the Order after developing forbidden attachments to her family. The Jedi taught her that love would lead to possessiveness and fear, that she had to choose between her family and the Force. But under Anakin's training, she learns to channel her love into strength rather than trying to suppress it. She becomes one of the Grey Knight's most effective members, specializing in protecting civilian populations during conflicts. Her love for innocent life makes her fierce, driven, unstoppable when defending the weak. Another student is a Zabrak named Thorin, who struggled with anger issues throughout his Padawan years. The traditional Jedi wanted to wash him out, fearing he'd fall to the dark side. But Anakin teaches him to acknowledge his anger, understand its sources, and channel it constructively. Thorin becomes a warrior who protects the weak with passionate intensity, but never loses himself to mindless rage. He hunts down slavers and criminals with relentless determination, using his anger as fuel without letting it consume him. There's also a Twi'lek named Senya, who was rejected by the Jedi for being too emotional, too expressive. She cried during meditation. She laughed during training. She formed deep friendships with other Padawans. The Jedi saw this as weakness, as attachment that would lead to darkness. But Anakin sees it as strength. Under his guidance, Senya learns that emotion isn't the enemy. She becomes a counselor, helping other Force users work through trauma and find balance. Her empathy, once considered a flaw, becomes her greatest asset. As word of the Grey Knights spreads, they begin attracting attention from across the galaxy. Some see them as dangerous radicals who will corrupt the Force and create a new generation of Sith. Others see them as a necessary evolution, proof that the Force is bigger than any one tradition. Force-sensitive individuals who never would have joined the Jedi seek out the Grey Knights, finding a path that fits them better. But success brings challenges. Dark side cults and former Sith acolytes see the Grey Knights as easy targets, assuming that anyone who touches darkness must be vulnerable to corruption. They're wrong. Anakin's students are trained specifically to resist such seduction. When a cult of former Sith apprentices tries to infiltrate the academy and turn students, they're systematically defeated. But rather than executing them, Anakin offers them the same choice he offers everyone: redemption through balance or imprisonment. Some accept, many don't. Those who refuse are handed over to Republic authorities for trial. But a surprising number choose redemption. They've spent years or decades drowning in darkness, believing there's no way out. Anakin shows them another path. Not the light side purity the Jedi demand, which feels impossible after years of darkness, but balance. The ability to acknowledge their past without being defined by it. To use their knowledge of the dark side constructively rather than destructively. One such redeemed student is a woman named Talia, who was being groomed as a Sith apprentice before her master was killed during Order 66. She's powerful and angry, lashing out at anything that threatens her master's legacy. When she first encounters Anakin, she tries to kill him. But instead of killing her, he shows her what true balance looks like. He demonstrates that power doesn't require cruelty, that strength doesn't require hatred. Over months of careful guidance, he helps her channel her anger into purpose rather than rage. Talia becomes one of his most dedicated students, eventually specializing in redeeming other dark side users. She understands their mindset in ways Anakin never could because she lived it. She knows the lies they tell themselves, the fears that keep them trapped in darkness. And she knows how to reach them, how to show them there's another way. Under her guidance, dozens of former dark side cultists find redemption. The Grey Knights also face political challenges. Some Republic senators view them as a threat, an unknown variable in the careful balance of power. These are often the same senators who were comfortable with Sidious's manipulations, who benefited from the corruption he encouraged. They see Anakin's organization as too independent, too willing to challenge authority. They try to bring the Grey Knights under Senate oversight, to make them answer to political masters. Anakin refuses all such attempts. The Grey Knights will serve the Force and protect the innocent, but they won't become anyone's pawns. Not the Senate's, not the Jedi Council's, not anyone's. This stance earns him enemies among the political class, but it also earns him respect from those who value independence. The Mandalorians, in particular, appreciate his willingness to chart his own course. Years pass. The galaxy continues to heal from the Clone Wars. The Republic transforms, implementing reforms to prevent another Palpatine from seizing power. The Senate becomes more transparent, with sessions broadcast publicly and votes recorded. Power is decentralized, with more authority returned to individual systems. Checks and balances are strengthened, making it nearly impossible for one person to accumulate the kind of control Sidious wielded. It's not perfect, corruption still exists, but it's better than what came before. The Jedi Order rebuilds slowly, carefully. They construct a new temple on Coruscant, smaller and less grandiose than the old one. The architecture is more open, less imposing. There are gardens where younglings can play, common spaces where Jedi can socialize. The design reflects their new philosophy. The Jedi should be part of the galaxy, not above it. The new order is humbler, more willing to acknowledge its limitations. They maintain their core teachings, but with crucial modifications. Attachment is no longer strictly forbidden, though it's carefully guided. Jedi can have families now, though they're taught to balance those relationships with their duties. Emotion is acknowledged as natural and potentially beneficial, though students still learn regulation techniques. Most importantly, the Jedi work alongside the Grey Knights and other Force traditions rather than claiming sole authority over Force users. This cooperation bears fruit in unexpected ways. When a dark side cult rises on Ryloth, threatening to enslave the Twi'lek population, it's a combined force of Jedi and Grey Knights that stops them. The Jedi provide tactical coordination and large-scale Force techniques. The Grey Knights provide aggressive combat capabilities and the ability to resist corruption long enough to destroy the cult's artifacts. Together, they accomplish what neither could alone. Similar collaborations happen across the galaxy. When a Force plague threatens Naboo, Jedi healers and Grey Knight counselors work together to cure the afflicted. When pirates attack Mandalore, Jedi strategists and Grey Knight warriors combine their expertise. The two organizations learn from each other, growing stronger through their differences rather than despite them. Anakin himself becomes a legend during this time. Stories spread across the galaxy about the Chosen One, who found true balance, who could wield both light and dark without corruption. Some stories are exaggerated, claiming he can teleport across star systems or resurrect the dead. Others are surprisingly accurate, describing his victories over dark side cults and his establishment of a new tradition. Parents tell their Force-sensitive children about him, either as inspiration or warning depending on their perspective. He continues his mission, hunting down remnants of Sidious's conspiracy. The Sith Lord's network was vast, with agents and cultists planted across the galaxy. Many survived the war's end and continue working toward their master's goals. Anakin makes it his personal mission to dismantle these threats systematically. On Dromund Kaas, he discovers a hidden Sith Academy training children in dark side techniques. But instead of simply destroying it, he offers every student a choice. The adults, too corrupted to save, are imprisoned, but the children, those who were indoctrinated from birth, are given the chance to learn balance. Many accept. They're transferred to the Grey Knight Academy, where they slowly, carefully, learn that there's more to the Force than hatred and pain. On Korriban, he faces a Sith Lord who survived Order 66 by hiding in the ancient tombs. This Lord is powerful, cunning, and absolutely committed to Sidious's vision of a Sith-ruled galaxy. Their battle is legendary, lasting 3 days across the Valley of the Dark Lords. But in the end, Anakin's balance prevails. The Sith Lord falls, and with him, one of the last direct links to the old Sith Order. On Ziost, he encounters something unexpected. A group of Force users who independently discovered balance, calling themselves the Bendu Order after an ancient tradition. They've been practicing in secret for generations, afraid of persecution from both Jedi and Sith. Anakin reaches out to them, offering alliance and recognition. The Bendu join the larger community of balanced Force users, adding their ancient wisdom to the growing movement. But not every mission is about combat or redemption. Anakin also spends considerable time teaching, mediating disputes between different Force traditions, and helping Force-sensitive individuals who are struggling with their abilities. He travels to backwater worlds where Force users are feared and persecuted, showing locals through patient demonstration that Force powers aren't inherently dangerous. On Lothal, he spends 3 months working with a farming community that wants to exile a Force-sensitive child. The farmers believe the boy is cursed, that his abilities will bring disaster. Anakin patiently demonstrates his own powers, showing them healing, protection, acts of service. He helps repair their irrigation systems using the Force, saves a child who fell down a well, predicts storms to protect their crops. Slowly, their fear transforms into acceptance. The boy is allowed to stay with his family, and Anakin visits periodically to help train him in balance. It's unglamorous work that will never make the HoloNet news, but it's perhaps the most important work he does. He also mediates conflicts between traditional Jedi and Grey Knights when philosophical differences threaten their cooperation. There's an incident on Corellia where a Jedi Master publicly condemns a Grey Knight for using Force lightning to disable a terrorist's bomb. The Master argues that using dark side powers, even to save lives, sets a dangerous precedent. The Grey Knight responds that clinging to dogma when lives are at stake is the real danger. The argument escalates until both organizations threaten to withdraw from joint operations. Anakin travels to Corellia personally to mediate. He sits with both Force users, listening to their concerns, validating their perspectives. To the Jedi Master, he acknowledges the danger of dark side corruption and the importance of maintaining ethical standards. To the Grey Knight, he emphasizes that showing respect for different philosophies strengthens their movement rather than weakening it. Eventually, they reach a compromise. Grey Knights will inform their Jedi partners before using dark side techniques in joint operations, and Jedi will trust their partners' judgment about when such techniques are necessary. It's a small diplomatic victory, but it prevents a potentially devastating split. Anakin also counsels individual students who are struggling with balance, sharing his own experiences and doubts with remarkable honesty. One such student is a human named Jarek, who begins showing concerning signs of falling toward the dark side. His anger grows stronger each day, manifesting in small ways at first. He's quicker to conflict during sparring. His meditation sessions become aggressive rather than centered. His techniques become more brutal, using maximum force even in training scenarios. Other instructors notice the pattern and want to expel him before he hurts someone or fully falls. But Anakin sees something they don't: a deep pain beneath the anger that's driving the behavior. He sits with Jarek for hours over several weeks, using both Force empathy and simple human compassion to understand what's happening. At first, Jarek is defensive, insisting nothing is wrong. But Anakin doesn't push. He just sits there, present and patient, letting the young man feel safe enough to open up. Eventually, the truth comes out in a flood of tears and rage. Jarek's family was killed by Separatist forces during the Clone Wars. He was 12 years old, hiding in a closet while battle droids methodically executed everyone he loved. His parents, his siblings, even the family pet. He heard everything: the screams, the blaster fire, the terrible silence that followed. He survived by staying quiet, by being too afraid to even breathe loudly. And he's been carrying that trauma ever since, letting it fester and poison him from within. The anger he feels isn't just emotion, it's survival instinct turned toxic. He's angry at himself for hiding, for surviving when his family died. He's angry at the Separatists who pulled the triggers. He's angry at the Republic for failing to protect them. He's angry at the Force itself for giving him power now, when it would have been useful then. That anger has been growing for years, and learning to channel the dark side gave it an outlet. But without addressing the root trauma, the anger is consuming him. Anakin shares his own story in return. He talks about his mother's death, how he found her too late to save her, how he slaughtered an entire village of Tusken raiders in his rage. He talks about how that anger nearly destroyed him, how it took years to process that grief in healthy ways. He explains that anger at injustice is natural and even necessary. It motivates us to fight against evil, to protect others, to change systems that allow atrocities. But anger at ourselves, guilt for surviving, that kind of pain turns inward and destroys us. Jarek needs to forgive himself. Not forget what happened, but forgive himself for being a frightened child who did the only thing he could do to survive. The healing process takes months. Anakin works with Jarek using a combination of force empathy, meditation techniques, and conventional therapy provided by Senya. They process the trauma slowly, carefully, helping Jarek understand that his anger is valid, but his guilt is not. He was 12 years old. There was nothing he could have done. Surviving wasn't cowardice. It was what his family would have wanted. Gradually, the anger transforms. It doesn't disappear. It becomes something different. A determination to ensure no other child experiences what he did. A fierce protectiveness toward the innocent. A commitment to fighting the kind of systems that create wars where civilians are murdered. Jarek finds his balance again, but it's a different balance than before. Tempered by pain, yes, but also by understanding and purpose. He becomes a teacher himself eventually, specializing in helping other students work through trauma. His own suffering gives him insight and empathy that theoretical knowledge never could. The Grey Knights also develop specialized units that operate across the galaxy, each focused on different types of threats or missions. There's the Shadow Wardens, who hunt down dark side artifacts and secure them before they can corrupt others. There's the Compassion Corps, who provide humanitarian aid in war zones and disaster areas, using their abilities to save lives without taking sides politically. There's the Truth Seekers, who investigate corruption and conspiracy, using force empathy to detect lies and manipulation. Each unit operates with considerable independence, united by their commitment to balance and service. One Shadow Warden mission becomes legendary among the Grey Knights. A team led by Thorin tracks a Sith holocron to Dathomir, the same world where Anakin destroyed the ancient artifact years ago. The holocron contains teachings from Darth Bane, the Sith Lord who established the Rule of Two. It's incredibly dangerous, capable of corrupting even experienced Force users. The team spends 3 weeks tracking it through Night Sister territory, navigating political tensions and hostile wildlife. When they finally locate it in an ancient temple, they discover a Night Sister clan has been guarding it for generations, believing it to be sacred. Thorin must negotiate with the clan matriarch, convincing her that keeping such a dangerous artifact is threat to her people. The negotiation is tense, nearly breaking down into violence multiple times. But eventually, Thorin's sincerity wins her over. The holocron is secured and taken to the Grey Knight's vault, a specially constructed facility where dangerous artifacts are kept under heavy guard and force suppression fields. The Compassion Corps performs equally important work, though less dramatic. During a famine on Ryloth caused by corporate exploitation, they coordinate massive relief efforts. Grey Knights use force precognition to predict weather patterns, helping farmers plant at optimal times. They use telekinesis to repair infrastructure that corporations refused to maintain. They use force persuasion to negotiate with corporate leadership, convincing them that paying living wages is more profitable long-term than dealing with constant worker rebellions. It takes 2 years, but eventually the situation improves. The famine ends, the exploitation decreases, and the Ryloth people remember that the Grey Knights cared when corporations and governments didn't. The Truth Seekers uncover a conspiracy within the Republic Senate that could have destabilized the entire government. A coalition of senators, disillusioned with the reforms after Sidious's fall, plot to stage a coup and restore strong executive power. They claim it's for stability, but their real goal is personal enrichment. The Truth Seekers gather evidence over months, using their ability to sense deception to identify conspirators and their methods to remain undetected. When they finally present their findings to Padme and other reform-minded senators, the conspiracy is exposed and dismantled before it can act. Dozens of corrupt senators are removed from office, and safeguards are strengthened. It's a victory for democracy and proof that the Grey Knight's independence allows them to protect the Republic from itself. But the Grey Knight's most important work might be in education and cultural change. Anakin writes extensively about balance, producing texts that become foundational to multiple Force traditions. His treatise, The Unity of the Force, argues that the ancient split between Jedi and Sith was a mistake born from fear and misunderstanding. He demonstrates through both philosophy and practical examples that light and dark are complementary aspects of a unified whole. The text is controversial, banned on some worlds and required reading on others, but it sparks conversations across the galaxy about the nature of the Force and how Force users should relate to society. He also advocates for changes in how Force-sensitive children are identified and trained. The old Jedi system of taking children from families, while well-intentioned, created trauma and resentment. The Sith alternative of embracing that pain and using it as fuel was obviously worse. Anakin proposes a third way. Force-sensitive children should be identified early, and their families educated about their abilities. Training should be provided, but children should remain with their families when possible. Parents should be involved in their development, helping them understand how to use their gifts responsibly. This approach is more complex and resource-intensive than the old Jedi method, but it produces healthier, more grounded Force users. The Grey Knights establish family training centers on multiple worlds, where Force-sensitive children and their families can come for education and support. Parents learn about the Force alongside their children, understanding what their child experiences and how to help them. Non-Force-sensitive siblings receive education too, learning about their siblings' abilities and how to relate to them without jealousy or fear. It's revolutionary, treating Force sensitivity as a family concern rather than something that separates children from their roots. One such center on Chandrila becomes a model for the program. It's run by a Grey Knight named Mara, a former Jedi who left the Order specifically because she wanted to maintain relationships with her family. She creates a warm, welcoming environment where Force sensitivity is treated as natural and families are empowered. Children learn meditation, basic telekinesis, sensing techniques, all while their parents watch and ask questions. Parents learn warning signs of Force accidents, how to help their child process strong emotions, what resources are available if problems arise. The I program is so successful that traditional Jedi begin adopting similar approaches, acknowledging that Anakin's family-centered method produces better results than their old system. Decades pass in this fashion. Anakin ages, his hair going gray and then white. Lines etch themselves deep into his face, around his eyes and mouth, marks of laughter and concern in equal measure. His body slows despite being reinforced by the Force. Joints ache. Muscles that once lifted starships now struggle with everyday tasks. But his mind remains sharp, his connection to the Force stronger than ever. He evolves from a warrior into a sage, his greatest battles now fought with words and wisdom rather than lightsabers. He becomes a grandfather when Luke and Leia have children of their own. Luke marries a Jedi healer named Mara, and they have a son named Ben, who shows exceptional Force sensitivity from infancy. Leia follows her mother into politics, becoming a senator for Alderaan, but she also marries and has 3 children, all Force sensitive to varying degrees. These new generation of Skywalkers carry on the legacy, each finding their own unique path through the Force. Ben becomes a scholar, studying ancient Force traditions and writing extensively about balance. Leia's children become warriors, diplomats, and teachers, respectively. The Skywalker line branches and spreads, each member contributing something unique to the galaxy's understanding of the Force. Anakin watches his family grow with profound satisfaction. This is what he fought for. Not power or glory, but the simple right for Force users to have families, to love openly, to be whole human beings rather than just weapons or tools. He sees his grandchildren playing in the Academy gardens, practicing Force techniques with the unself-conscious joy of children who have never been told their abilities are dangerous. He sees Luke teaching Ben about healing, Leia showing her children how to use passion constructively, Padme reading stories to all of them about heroes who chose compassion over cruelty. It's everything he dreamed of and more. But age brings challenges beyond just physical decline. Some of Anakin's earlier students are aging too, facing their own mortality. When Thorin is injured severely during a mission, nearly dying from wounds sustained fighting a dark side cult, it forces everyone to confront the fact that even Grey Knights are mortal. Thorin survives but retires from active duty, his body too damaged to continue fieldwork. He becomes an instructor full-time, teaching new students the lessons he learned through decades of service. His retirement is bittersweet, a reminder that all things end. Even the greatest warriors eventually step aside for the next generation. Anakin himself considers retirement multiple times, but there's always one more crisis, one more student who needs guidance, one more mission that requires his specific expertise. He leads the Grey Knights for 40 years, becoming as much an institution as a person. When he finally does step back from day-to-day leadership, handing primary control to Ahsoka and a council of senior knights, it feels less like retirement and more like evolution. He remains available for consultation, for teaching, for the occasional mission when his unique abilities are needed. But the younger generation runs the organization, bringing fresh perspectives and new ideas. Under Ahsoka's leadership, the Grey Knights expand their focus beyond just balance and combat effectiveness. She emphasizes community service, having each student spend time working in non-Force user communities to stay connected to regular people's concerns. She establishes scholarship programs to ensure Force-sensitive individuals from poor backgrounds can access training. She creates cultural exchange programs where Grey Knights live among different species and societies, learning their perspectives on the Force. The organization becomes more diverse, more connected to the broader galaxy, more grounded in practical service rather than abstract philosophy. The changes aren't always smooth. Some older knights resist Ahsoka's reforms, believing she's diluting Anakin's vision. There are arguments about whether the Grey Knights should be more involved in galactic politics, with some arguing for active political engagement and others insisting on strict independence. There are debates about whether they should accept contracts for hire, like mercenaries, or remain purely service-oriented. Ahsoka navigates these conflicts with the wisdom she learned from both Anakin and her own years outside traditional structures. She listens to all perspectives, finds compromises when possible, and makes hard decisions when necessary. Under her guidance, the Grey Knights not only survive, but thrive. But not every mission is about combat. Anakin also spends time teaching, mediating disputes, and helping Force-sensitive individuals who are struggling. He travels to backwater worlds where Force users are feared and persecuted, showing locals that Force powers aren't inherently dangerous. He mediates conflicts between traditional Jedi and Grey Knights when philosophical differences threaten cooperation. He counsels students who are struggling with balance, sharing his own experiences and doubts. One such student is a human named Jarek, who begins showing signs of falling to the dark side. His anger grows stronger each day. His techniques become more brutal. Other instructors want to expel him before he hurts someone. But Anakin sees something they don't: pain beneath the anger. He sits with Jarek for hours, using both Force empathy and simple human compassion to understand what's happening. Eventually, the truth comes out. Jarek's family was killed by Separatist forces during the war. He watched his parents die, unable to save them. That trauma fuels his anger, turning it from a tool into a weapon. Anakin helps him process that grief, showing him that anger at injustice is natural, but letting it consume you honors no one. Over months of careful work, Jarek finds his balance again. He becomes a teacher himself eventually, specializing in helping other students work through trauma. Padme remains Anakin's anchor throughout all of this. Their marriage, once secret, is now public and celebrated. She continues her work as a senator, pushing for reforms and representing those without power. But she also serves as Anakin's connection to the non-Force-using world, reminding him that power means nothing without compassion and wisdom. When he gets too focused on abstract Force philosophy, she brings him back to practical concerns. When he forgets that most people don't sense the Force like he does, she helps him communicate his ideas in ways others can understand. They have children eventually, as mentioned earlier. Twins, Luke and Leia, born 4 years after the end of the Clone Wars. Both are strong in the Force, showing abilities from infancy that mark them as exceptional, even by Skywalker standards. But unlike in some darker timeline that Anakin sometimes senses in his nightmares, these children grow up loved and protected. Anakin trains them himself, teaching them balance from the beginning. They never have to unlearn Jedi dogma or resist Sith seduction because they're raised with understanding of both. Luke develops an affinity for the light side, naturally drawn to healing and protection. Leia gravitates toward the dark side, using passion and intensity to fuel her power. But both learn to touch the opposite side when needed, maintaining the balance their father discovered. As the twins grow, they become symbols of what balanced Force users can achieve. Luke becomes a renowned healer and diplomat, using his abilities to broker peace and cure diseases. Leia becomes a warrior and leader, fighting injustice with fierce determination. Together, they represent the full spectrum of what the Force can accomplish when properly understood. The galaxy, slowly but surely, begins to accept the concept of balance. It's no longer seen as heresy or corruption, but as a valid path. Force users who don't fit the Jedi mold have options now. The Grey Knights provide an alternative, proving that the Force is bigger than any single doctrine. Other balanced Force traditions emerge, each with their own philosophies and methods, but all sharing the core understanding that the Force isn't meant to be divided. Some of these new traditions are strange. The Bendu Order practices extreme isolation, their members spending years meditating in remote locations. The Grey Paladins focus on martial prowess, creating warriors who can fight using any Force technique necessary. The Harmonists emphasize art and music, channeling the Force through creative expression. But all of them are allies, all working toward the same goal of understanding and serving the Force in its totality. And through it all, Anakin continues to grow and evolve. He never stops learning, never stops questioning, never stops seeking to understand the Force more deeply. He studies ancient texts that speak of balance, rediscovering wisdom that was lost when the Jedi and Sith split millennia ago. He experiments with new techniques that combine light and dark in ways no one has attempted before, always pushing the boundaries of what's possible. He develops a technique he calls force synthesis, where he literally weaves light and dark together into something new. He can create barriers that strengthen against both physical and force attacks. He can heal injuries that conventional force healing can't touch. He can sense danger from both light and dark sources simultaneously. Each new discovery expands his understanding of what balance truly means. He also trains others to train, establishing a whole generation of Grey Knight instructors who can carry on his teachings after he's gone. Ahsoka becomes the Academy's head combat instructor. Kira runs the counseling program. Thorin teaches advanced dark side resistance. Senya handles admissions and student evaluation. Together, they create an institution that can outlive its founder. The Academy itself grows over the years. What started as a small compound on Mandalore's moon expands into a complex of training halls, meditation gardens, dormitories, and libraries. Students from across the galaxy come to study, representing dozens of species and cultures. The Grey Knights become as diverse as the Force itself, united by their pursuit of balance rather than homogeneity of belief. Decades pass. Anakin ages, his hair going grey, then white. Lines etch themselves into his face. His body slows, even reinforced by the Force. But his mind remains sharp, his connection to the Force stronger than ever. He becomes a grandfather when Luke and Leia have children of their own. These new generation of Skywalkers carry on the legacy, each finding their own path through the Force. One day, Obi-Wan visits him on Mandalore. It's been too long since they last saw each other in person, though they communicate regularly through the holonet. The old Jedi Master has aged as well, his hair completely white, his face deeply lined. But his eyes are still sharp, still kind. They sit on a cliff overlooking the Academy, watching students practice in the training yards below. "You know, when I first took you as my Padawan, I never imagined you'd end up here," Obi-Wan says softly. Creating a whole new tradition, changing the galaxy's understanding of the Force itself, training hundreds of students in something the Jedi considered impossible. "I thought I was training a Jedi, following Qui-Gon's last wish. But you became something more, something neither of us could have predicted." Anakin smiles, his eyes distant with memory. "Neither did I. I just followed the Force where it led, and it led me to balance, to understanding that light and dark aren't enemies. They're two halves of the same whole. The Jedi forgot that truth when they split from the Sith. The Sith perverted it in their pursuit of power. But somehow, stumbling through meditation and desperation and necessity, I remembered. Or maybe I discovered it fresh. I'm still not sure which." Obi-Wan nods thoughtfully, watching the students below. One is practicing lightsaber forms, her movements fluid and precise. Another is meditating, surrounded by floating objects. A third is healing a training injury, golden light flowing from his hands. Do you ever regret it? Walking away from the Jedi, forging your own path? The Order would have welcomed you back, you know. After everything you did, after defeating Sidious, they would have made you a master, maybe even offered you a council seat. Anakin considers the question for a long moment, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. Finally, he shakes his head slowly. No regrets. The Jedi gave me so much: training, purpose, a code to live by, you as my master and friend. But their path wasn't mine. I had to find my own way. And in doing so, maybe I helped them find a new way too. The Order is stronger now than it was before the war. More flexible, more honest about its limitations, more willing to question and adapt. They learned from their mistakes. "You did more than that, my friend," Obi-Wan says quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved us all. From Sidious, yes, but also from our own blindness. We were so certain we had all the answers that we stopped asking questions. We were so sure of our righteousness that we couldn't see the darkness growing under our very noses. You reminded us to question, to grow, to change. The Order owes you a debt that can never be repaid." They sit in comfortable silence, watching as the stars begin to emerge in the darkening sky. Below them, the academy lights come on, warm and welcoming. Students file into the dining hall for evening meal. Instructors gather for their nightly planning session. Life continues, the daily rhythm of an institution dedicated to understanding and serving the Force. Somewhere out there, the galaxy turns. The Force flows through all things, light and dark, creating the balance that makes life possible. And at the center of it all, sitting on a cliff overlooking a peaceful valley, two old friends share a moment of perfect understanding. They've seen war and peace, death and rebirth, the fall of old orders and the rise of new ones. And through it all, they've maintained their friendship, their respect, their shared commitment to serving something greater than themselves. The war is over. The Sith are defeated, not destroyed, but transformed, their knowledge preserved and understood, rather than feared and hidden. The Republic has been reformed, its government made stronger through transparency and accountability. The Jedi have learned to adapt, embracing change rather than resisting it. And through it all, one truth has emerged. The Force was never meant to be divided. It was always meant to be whole. Light and dark, passion and serenity, emotion and peace. Not in conflict, but in balance. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, brought that balance. Not by destroying the Sith as the prophecy seemed to suggest, but by transcending the false dichotomy between light and dark. He showed the galaxy that the Force is bigger than any doctrine, more complex than any teaching, and more beautiful than anyone had imagined. He proved that power and compassion aren't opposites, that strength and mercy can coexist, that the Force, in all its aspects, serves life rather than death. As the night deepens and the stars wheel overhead, Anakin closes his eyes and reaches out through the Force one more time. He can feel his students across the galaxy, each one a spark of light and shadow in perfect balance. He can feel the traditional Jedi, slowly incorporating his lessons into their teachings. He can feel Force sensitives awakening to their power, knowing they have options now, paths they can follow that won't force them to deny half of who they are. He can feel his children and grandchildren, the Skywalker legacy continuing through them. Luke, still healing and bringing peace after all these years. Leia, now a senator like her mother, fighting for justice with the same passion Padme had. And their children, the next generation, already showing signs of the gift. The balance will continue. The path he blazed will persist. The Force flows through him, no longer divided into light and dark, but whole and unified. It's warm and cold, bright and shadowed, peaceful and passionate. It's creation and destruction, order and chaos, stillness and motion. It's everything. And finally, after so many years of searching and struggling and learning, Anakin fully understands what it means to be the Chosen One. Not to bring balance by destroying one side or the other, not to eliminate darkness or suppress light, but to bring balance by proving both sides can exist together in harmony, by living as proof that the Force is meant to be whole, by showing that the galaxy's oldest lie, that you must choose between light and dark, was always false. There is another way. There has always been another way. It just took someone willing to question everything, to risk everything, to walk the narrow path between extremes, to reveal it. And as he sits there on the cliff, an old man now but still strong in the Force, Anakin Skywalker smiles. His journey isn't over. It will never truly be over. But he's at peace with the path he's walked, at peace with the choices he's made, at peace with the legacy he'll leave behind. The Force is whole. The galaxy is healing. And balance, true balance, has finally been achieved. They trade attacks so fast they blur together. Anakin channels massive amounts of both light and dark, his body actually glowing with the combined energies. Sidious counters with ancient Sith techniques, calling upon reservoirs of dark power that have been building for years. The two of them clash in the center of the office, their lightsabers locked, Force energies spiraling around them. But even as they fight, Anakin realizes something. Sidious is testing him, studying him. Every technique Anakin uses, every combination of light and dark, the Sith Lord is analyzing and learning from it. If this battle goes on too long, Sidious will adapt. He'll find a weakness in Anakin's balance and exploit it. They need to end this now. Master Yoda, Anakin calls out through the Force. Master Windu, all of you, I need you to trust me. Channel your power through me. Everything you have. All at once. The Jedi hesitate for only a moment. What Anakin is asking is insane. Combining that much power could destroy him, but they're out of options. One by one, they reach out through the Force and connect their presences to Anakin's. Light side energy floods into him from 5 of the most powerful Jedi alive. Pure, radiant power that flows like a river. But Anakin doesn't just accept it. He combines it with his own darkness, weaving the two together inside himself. The energies spiral together, building to impossible levels. His body begins to glow, light and shadow flickering across his skin. The air around him crackles with barely contained force. Sidious feels it happening and his expression changes from amusement to alarm. What are you doing? Stop. That much power will destroy you. You can't possibly control it. But Anakin doesn't stop. He continues drawing in more energy, more light, more dark, until he's holding enough force power to level a city block. His bones feel like they're on fire. His mind screams at him to release it, but he holds on, compressing it further, making it denser. You're wrong, Sidious, Anakin says, his voice echoing with power. The Jedi fear the dark side because they think it corrupts. The Sith disdain the light side because they think it weakens. But I've learned something they both forgot. The Force isn't light or dark. It's both. It's all. It's everything. And I'm about to show you what that really means. He unleashes everything at once. A wave of pure Force energy explodes from his body, so bright that everyone in the room has to shield their eyes. It embodies both creation and destruction, healing and harm, light and dark, in perfect equilibrium. The attack doesn't just use the Force. It is the Force in its truest, most fundamental form. Undivided, unfiltered, whole. Sidious throws up every defense he has, layering shields upon shields, drawing on every ounce of dark side power he possesses. But the attack is too much. It tears through his barriers like paper. The Sith Lord screams as the energy engulfs him, burning away his darkness, while simultaneously crushing him with power, born from that same darkness. It's a contradiction he can't defend against, because it's operating on a level of the Force he's never mastered. The light fades slowly. When it clears, Sidious is on his knees, his body broken, his power shattered. Lightning arcs across his skin sporadically, the remnants of his own abilities turning against him. He looks up at Anakin with eyes that have gone from yellow back to their normal human color. The dark side has been literally burned out of him. "Impossible," he rasps, blood dripping from his mouth. "No one should be able to wield that much power. You've broken the fundamental rules of the Force itself." "How?" Anakin deactivates his lightsaber and looks down at the fallen Sith Lord, his own body trembling with exhaustion. "The only rule I broke was yours," he replies quietly. "The lie that the Force must be divided, that we must choose between light and dark. The Force was never meant to be split. It was always meant to be whole. You spent your entire life pursuing power through darkness, but you never understood that true power comes from balance, from accepting all of it, not just the parts that serve your ambition." Sidious tries to speak again, but his strength finally fails him. He collapses forward, unconscious but alive. Mace Windu steps forward and binds him with force-suppressing restraints. The Sith Lord will stand trial for his crimes against the galaxy. But as the adrenaline fades, Anakin realizes what he's done. The amount of power he just channeled should have killed him. It should have torn him apart at a molecular level. But his balance held. Light and dark together kept him stable when either alone would have destroyed him. He looks down at his hands, which are still crackling with residual Force energy, and tries to process everything. Around him, the other Jedi are staring at him with expressions that mix awe, fear, and confusion. They just watched him do something that shouldn't be possible. Channel the combined light side power of 5 Jedi Masters, mix it with dark side energy, and use it to defeat the most powerful Sith Lord in a millennium. Master Yoda hobbles forward, leaning heavily on his walking stick. His eyes are sad but accepting. "See now, I do, that wrong we were. About you, about the Force, about everything. A new understanding you have shown us. Whether wise or foolish, time will tell. But deny its power, we cannot. The battle is over. The immediate crisis resolved." But as Anakin looks around the destroyed office, as he feels the deaths of hundreds of Jedi echoing through the Force, he knows this is just the beginning. The galaxy has been shaken to its core. The Republic is crippled. The Jedi Order is broken, and he's the one who has to help put it all back together. The days following Sidious's capture are chaos. With the conspiracy exposed, the Senate erupts into turmoil. Some senators demand immediate military rule to stabilize the Republic. Others call for investigation into every level of government to root out Sidious's accomplices. A few opportunists try to seize power for themselves, claiming the Chancellor's emergency powers should transfer to them. Anakin finds himself caught in the middle of the political storm. As the one who defeated Sidious and exposed the conspiracy, he's become a symbol. Some hail him as the savior of the Republic. Others fear him as much as they feared the Sith Lord, seeing his abilities as a threat to order. The Jedi who survived Order 66 look to him for guidance, uncertain of their place in this new galaxy. The clone army is decommissioned and the troopers deprogrammed. It's a delicate process that requires both medical expertise and Force healing. Anakin works alongside other Jedi to free the clones from their hidden programming, restoring their free will. Many of them are devastated when they realize what they did under Order 66. Some can't live with the guilt and have to be placed under constant observation. Ahsoka helps coordinate the healing efforts, her unique perspective as an outsider, making her valuable in bridging the gap between Jedi and clones. She's no longer bound by the Order's restrictions, which allows her to show compassion in ways traditional Jedi can't. The clones respond to her, trusting her in a way they no longer trust the Jedi who led them in war. The Separatist movement collapses without Sidious pulling the strings. Dooku is dead. Grievous is destroyed during the final battle for Utapau. The remaining separatist leadership either surrenders or goes into hiding. Many systems that joined the CIS return to the Republic voluntarily once they learn the war was manufactured. Others remain independent but peaceful. The galaxy begins the long process of healing, but the Jedi Order faces its own reckoning. With so many dead, with their temple burned, with their reputation shattered, they must rebuild from almost nothing. And in doing so, they're forced to confront uncomfortable truths. Their dogma left them blind to Sidious. Their rigid doctrine pushed away Jedi like Ahsoka and nearly lost them Anakin. Their alliance with the Republic compromised their independence. They were supposed to be guardians of peace, but they became generals in a war. Something has to change. The Council meets to discuss the future, not in their grand chamber, which was destroyed in the battle, but in a temporary facility. Many seats are empty, their occupants dead. Those who remain are changed. Master Windu speaks first, his voice heavy with grief and acceptance. We failed. The Order failed. We were so certain in our righteousness that we became blind. We believed our doctrine was infallible and our judgment absolute. But Sidious hid from us for decades. We went to war without question. We rejected those who thought differently, like Skywalker and Tano. We must acknowledge our mistakes if we're to move forward. Master Yoda nods slowly. Agree, I do. Too rigid we became, too certain. Question ourselves, we stopped. The old ways served us for 1,000 years, but perhaps served us no longer. Learn from Skywalker's example. We must. Not his path, necessarily, but his willingness to question, to adapt, to find new answers. But we can't simply throw out all our teachings, Master Plo Koon argues. The dangers of the dark side are real. For every Anakin Skywalker who finds balance, there might be 100 who fall. We must be careful not to replace old dogma with new recklessness. Balance is important, yes, but so is caution. The debate continues for hours. Eventually, they reach a consensus. The Jedi Order will reform itself. They'll maintain their core principles: peace, justice, protection of the innocent, but with more flexibility. They'll allow attachments, acknowledging that love can be a source of strength rather than just weakness. They'll teach emotion regulation instead of emotion suppression. They'll question their alliance with the Republic and insist on remaining truly independent guardians. And most significantly, they'll acknowledge that Anakin's path, while not for everyone, has merit. They won't expel him or force him to conform. Instead, they'll grant him permission to establish his own tradition, separate from but allied with the Jedi. A place where Force users who don't fit the traditional Jedi mold can study and grow. Anakin accepts this arrangement. He's never been comfortable with the Jedi's rigid structure anyway. The idea of creating something new, something more flexible, appeals to him. He establishes his new order on a moon of Mandalore, far from Coruscant and the politics of the core worlds. He calls them the Grey Knights, Force users who seek balance rather than extremes. The first thing he does is reach out to others who were pushed away by the Jedi. Ahsoka joins him immediately, becoming his first true student in the way of balance. Other former Jedi contact him, those who left the Order for various reasons, but still want to serve the Force. Even some current Jedi, particularly younger ones uncomfortable with the Order's restrictions, ask for transfers. The Council grants these requests with surprising grace. They understand that the Order can't be everything to everyone. Better to have multiple paths, all serving the same goal, than one path that pushes people toward darkness or drives them away entirely. The Grey Knights become an alternative, not a rival. Training at the Grey Knight Academy is different from traditional Jedi training. Anakin teaches his students to acknowledge their emotions, to understand them, to use them without being controlled by them. He shows them how to touch the dark side safely, how to draw on its power for moments when pure light isn't enough. He emphasizes balance, self-awareness, and constant vigilance against corruption. It's not easy. Some students can't handle the balance and must be sent back to the traditional Jedi for their own safety. Others fall to the dark side, despite Anakin's teachings, and have to be stopped. The path he's created is narrow and dangerous, but those who succeed become something unique. Guardians who can face threats that pure Jedi couldn't handle. One of his early successes is a young woman named Kira, a former Padawan who left the Order after developing forbidden attachments. Under Anakin's training, she learns to channel her love into strength rather than trying to suppress it. She becomes one of the Grey Knight's most effective members, specializing in protecting civilian populations during conflicts. Another student is a Zabrak named Thorin, who struggled with anger issues. The traditional Jedi wanted to wash him out, fearing he'd fall to the dark side. But Anakin teaches him to acknowledge his anger, understand its sources, and channel it constructively. Thorin becomes a fierce warrior who protects the weak with passionate intensity, but never loses himself to mindless rage. Ahsoka herself flourishes under this new system. Without the Order's restrictions, she develops her own unique style that combines Jedi philosophy with practical wisdom gained from her time outside the Order. She becomes Anakin's second-in-command, helping train new students and representing the Grey Knights in diplomatic situations. As word of the Grey Knights spreads, they begin attracting attention from across the galaxy. Some see them as dangerous radicals who will corrupt the Force. Others see them as a necessary evolution, proof that the Force is bigger than any one tradition. Force-sensitive individuals who never would have joined the Jedi seek out the Grey Knights, finding a path that fits them better. But success brings challenges. Dark side cults and former Sith acolytes see the Grey Knights as easy targets, assuming that anyone who touches darkness must be vulnerable to corruption. They're wrong. Anakin's students are trained specifically to resist such seduction. When a cult of former Sith tries to infiltrate the Academy and turn students, they're systematically defeated and offered redemption instead of death. The Grey Knights also face political challenges. Some Republic senators view them as a threat, an unknown variable in the careful balance of power. Others try to recruit them as enforcers, assuming they'll be more willing to use questionable methods than traditional Jedi. Anakin refuses all such offers. The Grey Knights will serve the Force and protect the innocent, but they won't become anyone's pawns. Years pass. The galaxy continues to heal from the Clone Wars. The Republic transforms, implementing reforms to prevent another Palpatine from seizing power. The Senate becomes more transparent. Power is decentralized. Checks and balances are strengthened. It's not perfect, but it's better than what came before. The Jedi Order rebuilds slowly. They construct a new temple on Coruscant, smaller and less grandiose than the old one. The new order is humbler, more willing to acknowledge its limitations. They maintain their core teachings, but with crucial modifications. Attachment is no longer forbidden, just carefully guided. Emotion is acknowledged as natural and potentially beneficial. Most importantly, they work alongside the Grey Knights rather than opposing them. Anakin himself becomes a legend. Stories spread across the galaxy about the Chosen One, who found true balance, who could wield both light and dark without corruption. Some stories are exaggerated, claiming he can teleport or read minds across star systems. Others are surprisingly accurate, describing his victories over dark side cults and his establishment of a new tradition. He continues his mission, hunting down remnants of Sidious's conspiracy. There are still dark side cults scattered across the Outer Rim, still Force users who cling to Sith teachings. Anakin and his Grey Knights systematically dismantle these threats, but they don't just destroy. They offer redemption to those willing to accept it, showing them a different path. During one such mission, Anakin encounters a young woman who was being trained as a Sith apprentice. She's powerful and angry, lashing out at anything that threatens her master's legacy. But instead of killing her, Anakin shows her what true balance looks like. He demonstrates that power doesn't require cruelty, that strength doesn't require hatred. Slowly, carefully, he guides her away from the dark side, without forcing her into the light. She becomes one of his most dedicated students. Padme, his wife, supports him throughout all of this. Their marriage is no longer secret. With the old Jedi restrictions lifted, they can be open about their relationship. She continues her work as a senator, pushing for reforms and rebuilding. But she also serves as Anakin's connection to the non-Force-using world, reminding him that power means nothing without compassion and wisdom. They have children eventually. Twins, a boy and a girl, both strong in the Force. But unlike in some darker timeline, these children grow up loved and protected. Anakin trains them himself, teaching them balance from the beginning. They never have to choose between family and the Force, between emotion and duty. They grow up understanding that all of it can coexist. The galaxy, slowly but surely, begins to accept the concept of balance. It's no longer seen as heresy or corruption, but as a valid path. Force users who don't fit the Jedi mold have options now. The Grey Knights provide an alternative, proving that the Force is bigger than any single doctrine. And through it all, Anakin continues to grow. He never stops learning, never stops questioning, never stops seeking to understand the Force more deeply. He studies ancient texts that speak of balance, rediscovering wisdom that was lost when the Jedi and Sith split. He experiments with new techniques that combine light and dark in ways no one has attempted before. He also trains others to train, establishing a whole generation of Grey Knights who can carry on his teachings after he's gone. He knows he won't live forever. Eventually, the Force will call him home, but his legacy will continue. The path he blazed, the balance he discovered, will persist through his students and their students. Decades later, Obi-Wan visits him on Mandalore. The two old friends sit and watch the sunset, a comfortable silence between them. Obi-Wan has aged gracefully, his hair now completely white, but his eyes still sharp. Eventually, he speaks, his voice soft with nostalgia. "You know, when I first took you as my Padawan, I never imagined you'd end up here, creating a whole new tradition, changing the galaxy's understanding of the Force itself. I thought I was training a Jedi, but you became something more." Anakin smiles, his own hair now streaked with gray. "Neither did I. I just followed the Force where it led. And it led me to balance, to understanding that light and dark aren't enemies. They're two halves of the same whole. The Jedi forgot that. The Sith perverted it. But I remembered. Or maybe I discovered it. I'm still not sure which." Obi-Wan nods thoughtfully. "Do you ever regret it? Walking away from the Jedi? Forging your own path?" Anakin considers the question for a long moment, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. Finally, he shakes his head. "No. The Jedi gave me so much. Training, purpose, a code to live by. you as my master and friend. But their path wasn't mine. I had to find my own way. And in doing so, maybe I helped them find a new way too. The Order is stronger now than it was before the war. More flexible, more honest. They learned from their mistakes. You did more than that, my friend, Obi-Wan says quietly. You saved us all. From Sidious, yes, but also from our own blindness. We were so certain we had all the answers that we stopped asking questions. You reminded us to question, to grow, to change. The Order owes you a debt that can never be repaid. They sit in silence again, watching as the stars begin to emerge in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, the galaxy turns. The Force flows through all things, light and dark, creating the balance that makes life possible. And at the center of it all, sitting on a cliff overlooking a peaceful valley, two friends share a moment of perfect understanding. The war is over. The Sith are defeated. The Republic has been reformed. The Jedi have learned to adapt. And through it all, one truth has emerged. The Force was never meant to be divided. It was always meant to be whole. Light and dark, passion and serenity, emotion and peace. Not in conflict, but in balance. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, brought that balance. Not by destroying the Sith as the prophecy seemed to suggest, but by transcending the false dichotomy between light and dark. He showed the galaxy that the Force is bigger than any doctrine, more complex than any teaching, and more beautiful than anyone had imagined. As the night deepens and the stars wheel overhead, Anakin closes his eyes and reaches out through the Force. He can feel his students across the galaxy, each one a spark of light and shadow in perfect balance. He can feel the traditional Jedi, slowly learning to incorporate his lessons. He can feel Force sensitives awakening to their power, knowing they have options now, paths they can follow. The Force flows through him, no longer divided into light and dark, but whole and unified. It's warm and cold, bright and shadowed, peaceful and passionate. It's everything. And finally, after so many years of searching, Anakin understands what it means to be the Chosen One. Not to bring balance by destroying one side or the other, but to bring balance by proving both sides can exist together. By living as proof that the Force is meant to be whole. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.